back. Anthony, we're back.
Yeah, I know what that means.
Anthony, I can't ignore the lack of cheers this episode. I think people are still in their feelings about our last episode, advising men not to get in relationships with single moms. I think they're sitting in the stands. They're a little silent. I think we can win them back this week. We're just looking out for their own good, right?
Yeah, man. I know we came a little strong last week, a little raw. But I think you're going to be better for it, a little advanced class action.
You can't always eat candy, Anthony. You have to eat your vegetables every now and then, right?
Balanced diet.
Let's go ahead and I want to welcome everybody. I am Wesley with my dear, wise friend, Anthony. Have you had a good week, sir?
Awesome week, man.
Great. This is the Red Pill Phone Tap, where you guys out there in the listening audience get to listen to Anthony and myself, Wesley, talk about, you guys get a phone tap into our conversations. Anthony and I have had a fascination for the interaction between humans, especially between the genders, for a lot of years now. That's been the motivation for this podcast. We thought a lot of you could benefit from this. So this is the Red Pill Phone Tap here at Navigation Studios. Welcome, everybody. Let's jump right into it, Anthony, because I think as we did some show prep here, we got a lot to cover today, right?
Oh, yeah, man. We may not be able to fit it in, honestly.
The first thing we're going to cover today, guys, because, Anthony, you and I have talked about this many times. When you start to do something valuable, whether like you invent being a vegan, you can't really choose who joins your movement.
No.
Right? And then inevitably people join your movement and it gets completely off track because they're jerks and they're shaming people because they eat meat and they're throwing blood on people that wear fur coats. And really and truly, the first person that started it had a traumatic event with a pet when they were a child. And they were trying to reach out and connect. We're starting this podcast, but I don't want people to get confused, Anthony. And this is a segment we're going to reach out to everybody, Anthony, not just the Red Pill community. This segment is for the white knights out there, the people that would come in based on our last episode and be like, single moms are the women you cherish, Wesley. How dare you tell men not to get in relationships with them? And they come in to save them.
Oh, the heroes.
Oh, yeah. And we all know what their real motivation is, Anthony.
Oh, yeah.
It's sex.
Yeah,
it's not.
100.
Yeah, it's sex. Spoiler alert, ladies.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he's not there for your pride, dignity. He is there for you to... He came to my rescue.
And how many women actually do that?
No.
Not many, right? Well, they'll say it in the moment to make the other guy look like a jerk.
Exactly.
And then they'll go right back to,
They'll use your bullshit attempt to say that you're rescuing them from this mean man. But at the same time, their focus is still on that mean man.
Yeah. And then they put the white knight back in the friend zone. But I would say the white knight is not completely wrong. Yeah. Okay, and that's what we want to start this podcast out with. How to use the Red Pill Phone Tap in life. Guys, to the white knights and Captain Save-A-Ho's point, when it comes to life, don't be a meatball. Don't be a meatball. You know what I mean?
Explain what being a meatball is.
Being a meatball is, we just had a terrible event happen here in Houston. Our Houston Astros got caught cheating.
A
right?
tear just came out my eye. Wow.
And Anthony, we're kind of joking right now, but being totally truthful, you and I are just bummed about this because they just so obviously cheated. The whole city was rallying around this team. They won the World Series after there was a terrible hurricane here that flooded the whole city. The guys on the team are so entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just become, part of Houston, celebrity status, infamy forever.
Yeah.
And we find out the year they won the World Series, they're cheating. Now, let me give you, your question was, what is being a meatball? When the Patriots got caught cheating, the meatballs up in the New England area and all over the world, they became meatballs who sat around and said, everyone's just against the Patriots. It's a conspiracy. Why do they want the Patriots? No, dude. Your team cheated. They got caught. By the way, they got caught 3 times.
And the same meatballs are saying, well, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Oh, and this is the famous one they say, well everybody's doing it.
Right.
Come on. We don't know it.
We only have proof against your team.
These motherfuckers swear they hang out with, like, NFL head coaches. And
Right.
Like they know everyone's doing it. So you sound like a meatball, like just a jock, dare I say, a Texas A&M frat boy that's drunk off his ass. That's a good example of a meatball. Shout out to the Aggies. We love you. But not that much. But that meatball mentality, like we were talking about last week, do not get into relationships with single moms, and we stand by that. But this doesn't mean run up on a single mom and be like, ha, bitch, you a single mom. You ain't married and you got a kid. Ha, right. You dumb bitch. You dumb bitch.
You ain't shit with your failed relationships and lack of co-parenting in the home for your children.
Anthony, I bring this podcast to you, but so that all this information that we're bringing you comes with the prerequisite that that the way you show up in the world is you're being kind, you're being charming, you're being a gentleman, and this podcast is primarily aimed at your inner dialogue, and how you show up in life.
Having inside knowledge to what is happening out in the world. So when we started this podcast, we were saying that, hey, we would be on the phone talking we've already said this, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember someone asking me, like, how you spend that much time on the phone with a guy? And I'm like, well, we talk about how our life was, and what we've learned in that, and how life is, and how we want our life to be in the future. So there's a lot of dialogue that can happen in that. So how I can talk to him for so long is that we're sharing our experiences and trying to gather between the two of us, like, what would be the best way to live our life after knowing. When I'm telling you, when you get red pill inside you, it's hard to go back to a blue pill lifestyle. I'm sorry. It'll be very uncomfortable. You probably can if that's just how you live your life. But this content is not for everybody, but I'm sure there'll be different levels to it, to where you are in your life when you hear this. So what we're saying is we're going to give you the ability to consume this on different levels. Right.
I would even almost say our podcast, think of it as a instructional manual on playing chess. When you're playing chess, you're not running around beating your chest. The crowd's not going wild. There's not a stadium clapping or shouting out and wooing and booing, none of that stuff. This is for your inner dialogue. And by the way, this segment, Anthony, was inspired over you. I was going through a period, and I think it was because we had just had our newborn in the house. And for anybody that's had a baby, you guys know the first 6 weeks, that baby is doing one of 3 things. It's either sleeping, eating, or crying. And that's it. And for the first 6 weeks, that is it. So I was kind of going through a time in life where, you and I, again, we're always bouncing ideas off each other, strategizing about life. And I was kind of being a bit crass. And we were going to Lowe's. We were doing some kind of project together. We were going to Lowe's, and you took a phone call from a young lady that you had been dating recently. And I remember we were just complaining about something to do with the opposite sex. And as soon as you answered that phone, you switched into a different gear where it was like Anthony was just charming. He's making jokes. You're speaking, and I don't know if you are aware that you do this, but you're speaking very covertly. You're leaving a lot for the girl to kind of figure out and be mysterious and things like. And you were doing it very effortlessly. And I remember when I heard it, I remember thinking to myself, man, I kind of forgot about that part of the equation. You know, because I'm a married man now. Yeah. I have a different closeness with my wife. You know, we get along very well, but you just kind of switched into that gear, and it reminded me the art of seduction is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, no matter how these hypergamous hoes frustrate the hell out of us in our own mind, like here on the Red Pill Phone Tap when we're strategizing, when we go to bat in life, guys, don't be a meatball. You gotta show up, be charming.
Yes.
Anthony, you were bringing something to the show prep before this.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were looking, and man, this was, you didn't even know we were doing this segment before you got here, but this is so perfect for this segment. Now, Anthony, am I correct in saying this is George Clooney?
Yeah.
He describes how he walks into a room.
Yeah.
Man, I only got like halfway through it, and I was like, no, I don't want to read the rest of it because I want to react to this on the air because it was already like, it was so slick. And so, guys, as we go through and help you guys strategize and, you know, and talk openly about the frustration of dealing with the opposite sex, guys, you got to still come to bat with some class, with some dignity. Don't be a meatball. Anthony, please, for our listening audience, please share this with them because it was so slick.
So I want to give you guys the George Clooney effect. And the George Clooney effect is all about setting the tone. And when you set the tone, you start as soon as you enter the room. You take the scene in slowly and you be okay being physically warm while you're interacting and greeting people. You smile. Get comfortable physically, because if you get comfortable physically, your mind will follow. And a comfortable mind amongst strangers and or a large group of people just makes you stand out. And one thing that George Clooney does well, if you do some research on him and look at his interviews, he does a lot of laughing with his eyes.
That's such a good take. He does, right? It really does look like he's laughing with his eyes, right?
Yeah, I've seen his movies, man, and I see how when he interacts with other actors, you can see the engagement he has, and it seems like it's so easy to communicate with him, and he makes, I swear, he's probably one of the best actors to work with, because he basically has fun with what he's doing and saying in each scene. He has genuine eye contact. And he always slightly looks away, and then he'll bring back his eyes to you when he's talking, and you just get engaged right there because you're so in tune into his story, because you can tell he's looking away to think, and then he's coming back to deliver the story to you. Another thing is that he's not afraid to self-deprecate and tease others. You know, that's again about being comfortable, and just, you can do that with strangers. You can do that with friends. Also, being able to compliment people while you're self-deprecating to make them feel better. You know, because George Clooney is what? You would say he's a top A-rated actor, right?
Oh, he's A-list for sure.
So him going into a room, he's probably has in the room that he's walking in, he's probably is the alpha male walking in. But he has no problem to self-deprecate to make you feel comfortable with him. So does that sound like alpha male strategy meathead philosophy?
No.
Yeah.
It sounds smooth as hell.
And guess what? He's allowing men and women to feel comfortable in his presence.
I remember because one of the movies that I love is Ocean's 11, which he stars in.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing an interview with Julia Roberts, and I almost kind of feel like she was kind of making fun, kind of being a little insulting to George Clooney. She was saying something to the effect like, God, he's so smooth on camera, but in real life he's a big dork. But as she kind of described it, you kind of like discovered that's what made her comfortable, was him being a little bit of a dork.
Yeah.
You know, the more she talked about it. So when you brought that, I was like, Jesus, I mean, that is a guy who, when he enters a room, he's alpha, and this is what I need you meatballs out here to understand. You can be alpha, guys, but you can also be gentle. You can also be kind. More importantly, you can be suave. Okay? And like I said, Anthony, that is what this podcast is for. This isn't for all you fellas to come in here, get a nice little spoonful of red pill rage. Fellas, we do not let these hypergamous hoes break us or our masculine frame. You already lost if you do that. And white knights, I'm giving you a little credit because, like I said, you're not totally wrong. But let me tell you why you're not right either. White knights act on anything that gets them sex or female attention. Gentlemen are motivated by what is written on their gravestone. In other words, Anthony, what people are going to say about them when they die. I mean, this is like the difference between your Twitter online male feminist guys who are just taking up for women and, are you okay? I'm not going to say anything about the feminist movement because I don't feel like I deserve it because I'm not a woman. Until women give me the permission. It's like, Anthony, being a guy, knowing guys bullshit, this is just such an obvious ploy to get female attention and sex versus a real gentleman. First, you have to be a man before you can be a gentleman. You have to be like a George Clooney type. And a real man is the perfect analogy, Anthony, is a firefighter. That dude's running into that burning building. He doesn't know if there's chicks in there or children or grown men or whatever. Right. He's not going in there with the intention. His courageousness is not attached to women.
Right, man. It's a perfect analogy, man. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost, I would almost say, dare I be controversial? I would almost say, you could say white knights are more like cops. Oh. And gentlemen are more like firemen. You know what I noticed? Like cops, the world has become so safe that they got to run around
make shit
fucking
dangerous.
With people. God damn it. Do you ever see a firefighter like trolling through the neighborhood looking for fire hazards? Hey, what are you doing over there with that grill?
Put out that cigarette.
No, they show up when it's hero time.
Right.
When they're cutting people out of cars with the jaws of life. That is the difference between a gentleman and a white knight. Have you ever seen, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Anthony, probably not. Have you ever seen a policeman ever be overweight?
Yes. 100.
Anthony, when you and I were both in the military, were we allowed to be overweight?
Not at all.
Okay. I wonder why. I wonder why we were not allowed to be overweight. I guess probably because when you're supposed to be protecting a country or society, you can't look like a goddamn.
Well, you're also responsible for the man right next to you.
Yeah.
So you can't be a liability. And I remember being on a Navy vessel. We had escape hatches. Your fat ass ain't getting in that escape hatch. I'm sorry. Really? So if you're fat, you're probably gonna die. Period. So you can't be fat.
Yeah, because let's just be honest. Being fat and protecting anything or anybody just looks fucking foolish. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. We're just telling people not to be. And by the way, not all policemen are like that.
No,
matter of fact, I had a great experience with a policeman in Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out Memphis, Tennessee Police Force. Had a great experience with them. They were very, very good to us last Christmas. So I don't want to. This isn't a dog on cops. What this is a dog on meatballs. This information we give you is for inside your head so you can strategize and navigate through life, guys. This isn't to take and throw blood on somebody's fur coat, using the analogy earlier with the vegans. Yeah. Like we cannot do that, guys. Meatballs, get better. Get better. That's all we have to say. That is the proper. I'm finally glad we did an instruction manual, Anthony, on how to use this podcast responsibly.
I think it was necessary. Because there are gonna be some hard pills to swallow, so to speak, with the content we bring, and it's not to make anyone feel less than, but at the same time, you need to understand what the truth of the matter is versus the fantasy that we feel the Matrix brings when dealing with not only women but even other men that don't understand what the red pill is. I've tried to impart some red pill knowledge in a group of blue pill men, and it didn't take well. So you can't force this information on people, but if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably interested. You probably have some issues going on in your life that you're like, hey, I need that.
And when you have something difficult in your life is probably when you're going to come to the red pill. That's a good tease for our third segment on this show. Anthony's got some good things lined up for you listeners. But first, we teased this last week. If you are in the Facebook group, 30 Plus The Renaissance.
Oh, I'm ready for this.
You already know about Wesley's patented women's argument tree. All right, fellas. Fellas, this is more entertainment for the fellas. This is more of a pill that the women need to swallow.
Yeah.
When we're sitting over here, and by the way, you're going to see a lot of the things in the women's argument tree really synonymous with people talking politics. It's very synonymous with that, isn't it?
Yes.
Because this is the dumb, idiotic shit people do when they talk about politics. We already talked about the first couple episodes. Whataboutisms is not allowed on this show. They're not allowed on this show. If you are a guest on this show... what about what Hillary did last year? I mean, that was terrible. Oh, yeah? Well, what about what George Bush did? Oh, yeah? Well, what... And you could just do that till the end of time and then just completely ignore the topic at hand. So let's get into the women's argument tree. You might be online. You might be in person. And you might say something like... Men should not get into relationships with single moms. And then you start the discussion, right? And here is instead of women coming at you and being like, well, I think the reason single moms are great is because they have this characteristic. Or this, hey, Wesley, you didn't consider single moms bring this to the table, and then start talking about the fucking topic. No. They go to the women's argument tree, and Anthony...
What about single dads?
Yeah. Well, that is our number two. Number one is usually really, really consistent. And the number one on the women's argument tree, this is where they usually go first.
Write this down.
Yeah, write this down. Number one on the women's argument tree, not all women. We've been teasing the not all women for the first two podcasts. If you ever hear Anthony and I kind of go off to the side and say, not all women. All right. Not all women.
Red pillars know what this means.
Oh, God. So they say not all women. They like give an example of some kind of outlier. Yeah. And these dumb bitches think they won the fucking argument. Let me give an example. If I was given a science podcast and we talked about this week, let's talk about mammals. Now, everyone knows that mammals give birth to live young.
Yeah.
And then the lady raised her. What? Hey, not all mammals.
Wait,
not all. Wait. What mammals? Well, the duck-billed platypus. It's a mammal and it lays eggs.
Oh, you found an outlier.
You found an outlier.
Congratulations.
Hold on a second. Wait a second, Anthony. Did they find an outlier?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Good job.
Good job. You found an example. So by your stupid logic, okay, you win the argument. All mammals lay eggs. right? Right? All mammals lay eggs. Well, no. I'm not saying all mammals lay eggs. All I'm saying is, like, there's some that don't lay eggs. So don't say all mammals don't lay eggs. And you sound okay. This. You could also do this. Hey, Hitler was a terrible man that committed horrible acts of genocide. Not all the things he did was bad. He gave more money to orphanages than any man in the history of Germany. Yeah, but mostly the genocide is.
You're talking about yards of information, and they want to bring to the forefront of the inch. Yeah. And it's like, really? Can you listen to the rest of
this logic? You can't discuss anything on planet fucking
ever
Earth if there's an exception. Like, you can't talk in any kind of generalities.
Yeah,
because not all women. It drives me insane. It drives me insane because, ladies, here's the real deal. Because when y'all were young and men wanted to sleep with you so bad, you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to physically wrestle like little boys did. You didn't have anybody calling you the fuck out because your feelings got hurt and you'd run away and cry. So you never learned how to fucking rationally talk about shit. So you sit there like the cat that ate the fucking canary. Because you say, not all women, not all women. No, but I mean, not all women, not all women.
And fellas, we're going to talk about this later, but there's ways to get around this shit. Like, you can't continue to let women have that free pass just because they found one fucking outlier or one fucking objective to the entire topic that you're discussing.
Well, it's tricky, Anthony, and that's a good tease for the third segment and how to communicate with women. You've got some good stuff on that, but it's tricky because what they're saying isn't untrue.
Exactly.
Platypuses do lay eggs,
right?
And so do 3 anteaters. We looked this up for the sake of conversation.
Well,
there's 4 mammals that lay eggs.
Let's be very specific because it's the duck-bill platypus that lays eggs, not just the platypus. So it's specific.
Is there a platypus without a duckbill? We really are having a science podcast this week.
Well, I'm saying because that's what would happen.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
No,
excuse me, not just any platypus,
right?
The duck-bill platypus,
exactly. So that because man, it's easy to get under your skin when someone is trying to deconstruct your talking points by bringing out a part of the argument that is completely outside.
Yeah, and it's also like let me tell you, because Anthony's being very kind to you women out there. I'm going to be brutally honest. You know why it's frustrating? Because it's fucking stupid. This is not how men talk. Men don't sit around and, hey, running backs in the National Football League, they're just not as valued as they used to be. Not all running backs. We kind of know when we're talking, like, I don't know, ever.
We're talking about most running backs.
Damn it.
Not every single different, because oh my god,
oh man, dude,
it's hard.
This is not how dudes talk.
No,
they're like, what about Christian McCaffrey? I mean, they value him over in Carolina. I mean, no. So you're saying all running backs aren't valued? This is what they do too. So you're saying all women are like that? No, I never fucking said that. By the way, no one ever says all anything.
Nobody.
We're talking in generalities. The only way we can talk about shit is in generalities.
Even if you do, you can't possibly account for every single person on the planet.
And they think they won the argument if they can just find one example. Wait. So you're saying all women? No. You're saying all women. None of us, because we're not fucking stupid.
What happens with that, man, is
a lot of F-bombs. That's how much this frustrates me. Jesus.
A lot of times when they come at that so strong is because they've been hit with a truth dart, and they got hit. So they gotta say, whoa. Not all, because I know a sister cousin of mine whose boyfriend's dad who married to my second uncle, said that, and it's like, what are you talking about? Who? First of all, fuck the lineage of people you discussed right there, and now you're trying to object what I'm saying by bringing up some obscure fucking outlier about nothing. If you bring more to the conversation, I could probably listen to you.
Or if you could just talk about
what we're talking about.
God damn it. We're talking about mammals giving birth to live young. Not all mammals. Not all mammals.
Man, look, I don't think we're gonna finish the treat.
No, let's get to number 2. We can do this. Hold on. We can do this. We're making good time so far.
Okay, good.
Number 2. Number 1 is not all women. Number 2 is, what about men? What about men, though? When we're sitting here talking about female hypergamy, how women will be dating multiple guys while pressuring men to only date them so they can have them peeled off eating only from their restaurant.
Yeah.
If you listen to last episode. What about men? What about men? And this is also called, you'll hear people doing this a lot when they discuss politics. Again, because they have low IQs, it's called a whataboutism. Okay, Anthony and I are talking about the different types of kites. And we're like, yeah, but this triangle kite is really, really dope, you know. And I think that would probably be the best one to take down to the kite festival. Oh, really? Really? What about the beer festival, though? You didn't think this much about the beer festival. What about the beer festival? It's like, dude, we're talking about the fucking kite festival. We ain't talking about the beer festival. We're not. What's the one I'm trying to think of down in New Braunfels?
Oh,
Oktoberfest.
It's Oktoberfest. The Greek fest. No.
It's German.
It's
German.
Worst
Fest. Yeah.
The Worst Fest or Brat Fest or whatever it is.
I thought it was the Worst Fest.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Worst Fest maybe, but that sounds right.
Jesus, we digress. But what about men? And it's like, again, just like number 1, and you're going to see a trend here.
Oh, yeah.
They never talk about the subject matter. Ever. Ever.
The exact opposite is what.
Oh, so you're saying you can get in relationships with single moms? What about single dads? What about single dads? Oh, what about single dads? What about single dads? Oh, what about single dads? What about single dads? Oh, what about single dads? And they're not contributing anything to the conversation. They're just saying, what about, enter a word here, and they're just getting louder and more repetitive as they go on. What about men?
Man, those are the people that I'm like, hey, start your own fucking post. You jumping on my post, not talking about the topic. You want to talk against the topic, and you don't understand why I'm coming at you so direct and foul to shut you off and shut you down. I'm trying to continue talking about the topic at hand. If you're so interested in about the whatabouts, start your own post.
As a matter of fact, where I'm concerned, start your own country on an island somewhere away from me. We're trying to have a intelligent discussion, and all you can do to argue your point is whataboutisms. Which brings us in once we point out that they're not talking about the subject at hand, and of course these ladies have no skills. Then they go to the one that's become really popular in the last 5 years. Well, you're a sexist. I'm offended.
The offense, oh my God.
I'm offended. You're a sexist. They get to call you a name, and now, because women, all the way from middle school to high school, this is how they treat each other. They have this psychological warfare that they do with one another, and they think for some reason that shit works with guys, and it doesn't.
No.
Oh, now you can't hang out with us. I'm offended. You're a sexist. And then once they do that, they get to cancel your opinion. Oh, you are covertly a sexist, and I found you out. Hey, everybody. There go Wesley. He's a sexist. He's a male chauvinist. Ladies, you still have not talked about the topic that we're talking about. It's because you're a male chauvinist pig, Wesley. I won't lower myself to talk to them.
So instead of the topic at hand, we're attacking the person. Now it's
actually,
about the character of the person because the topic doesn't matter anymore. Now we're on you.
Well, attacking comes later. That's actually the next step. But right now, we're labeling. That's what we're doing. As long as we can label them as an offensive group.
I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if I label you something,
he's
now
racist.
you have to defend that.
Yeah, now we're no longer talking about single moms. Now I have to defend. Now the conversation has changed to, is Wesley a male chauvinist? Yes or no? Let's discuss. Now the discussion has changed, and now I'm back on my. This is what they think I'm going to do.
Yeah,
I'm back on my heels. Well, hold on. No. I'm not a male chauvinist. Please don't ostracize me from Twitter and Instagram and the group. I still want to talk. No, I got deleted because I'm a sexist.
So, and that's so true, man. When you can throw out a card like a racist or homophobe or any label.
What about the really bad one?
What?
You're an Islamophobe.
Oh my God.
Don't you dare insult people from the Nation of Islam, Anthony. Don't you dare.
So, shh. Let me ask you, what when you, because this tree is amazing because
it's so true.
I've seen it, man. I'm sure I see the shit every day. If I spend enough time online, you can find that shit. And if you guys are writing this down, I'm sure.
Good on you.
Yes, because you can shut this shit down. You can be like Negan and shut this shit down by bringing up this tree. And I saw it happen in real time with Wesley.
Yeah, where we were just discussing, and I was like, "Oh, cool, that was number 4." Okay, cool. You went back to number 1 again.
Right. And the funniest part of it is that they had nowhere else to go.
No. Yes, they did. They could just
talk about
the
the
topic. Jesus, just talk about the fucking topic. So whenever they realize, Anthony, whenever they realize that you labeling them doesn't bother you,
right?
Now they're getting short on words. They're getting short on ideas. Now we're moving to personal insults. Oh, I see why Wesley and Anthony got that podcast. They can't get laid. Oh, look at these incels. Oh, I bet Wesley and Anthony got a little dick. My favorite personal insult. People find out I have a newborn daughter. Oh, I feel sorry for some people's daughter.
Wow.
Yeah, they just start insulting you.
That would have pissed me off so much.
It didn't piss me off because they already went, not all women. What about men? I'm offended. You're a sexist. So I know, like, they're not very smart. It would be like
because the kid don't have anything to
learned
do.
how to talk and then insulted me. I'm like, well, thank you, Mr. Chimpanzee. You don't know much about life.
Yeah, man. Like, I
don't know. I guess they can fly space shuttles and shit. I mean, maybe I'm dogging on chimpanzees. I don't know, man.
Reason I say I would get pissed off is because it's fine if you talk about me. I really don't give a fuck. But when you bring in my family. And then you talk about you take on my character on how I would treat my family, like as if I would treat my family in some fucked up way. It's like,
we talked about this a while back. It used to get under my skin when people would insult my wife because she's such a good wife. She's that unicorn.
And I'm used to it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to, this is a good segue to tell you guys right here in the middle of the argument tree. If we have time, and we're making good time right now, Anthony. We're making really good time. If we have time, we promised last week we would get to vetting women. And the reason we were going to talk about vetting women is because I want to help some of you guys do like I did. If you want to be in a relationship with a woman, I want to help you find your unicorn because I found mine. So this is advice I can give you. What Anthony brings to the program is if you're a guy in the dating world, he has real current experience in the dating world. I bring to the podcast relationship stuff. But I'm going to warn you guys, vetting women is going to be dead last here in the podcast. So if you tuned in for that, Don't be mad at us. We'll try to get to it if we can. But first, let's get to number 5. Now, number 1 was not all women. Number 2, what about men? Number 3, I'm offended. You're a male chauvinist peg. Number 4, personal insults. I feel sorry for your daughter. Number 5, this is one of my personal favorites. Word salad, followed by high-fiving another female in the room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the
Hashtag hive mentality.
Yes, oh man, that hive mentality is so real. And when you see it happen, like as a man, like you can be several men in a room and you can see them just collectively gather and get the buzzing, and again the buzzwords come out and they get to tell you how short man, short dick.
I don't want no short.
Yeah,
don't want. Yeah, and then followed by their high fives.
Right.
By the way, they're still not talking about the subject matter that we're debating
at all.
What's some of the word salad that we talked about? One of them was, "You will not be home stressed. You'll be out with the next."
Oh.
Whoa, girl! Dang. You will not be
That was
stressed.
a good one, girl.
Still haven't talked about the subject matter. You got your Oprah clapping moment. You still have not brought anything to this conversation for us to discuss.
You know what's sad when I'm hearing this, man? Because I've heard men talk like this and argue like this, too.
Right, because they learn it from women. If they grow up around a lot of women and things like that.
Be careful out there, man.
Man, especially your blue pill guys. Then you'll get, if he speaks in riddles, his dick is probably little. Oh, no. Don't pull it out if you're not going to use it.
Oh, wacky ass.
Oh, yeah. Okay, excuse me, ladies. Excuse me. He could not believe in you because you never believed in yourself.
Oh,
see, thank you, girl, thank you, clap. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You got him, girl.
Yeah, excuse me. He who hath no sin, cast the first stone. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
He went to the Bible on you.
Still not talking about single moms. Still. I'm glad that you got Dr. Phil and Oprah's audience to clap for you. You still haven't brought anything to the conversation.
Nothing of value.
All right. Number 6.
And meanwhile, you're not responding to any of this shit, right?
Well, I'm not. No,
So,
in my blue pill days, I fell into all these little...
yeah. You heated, you're red, you got the fucking typing fingers, you're clickety clacking.
Or
you're trying to speak logic to the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go down the list here. I mean, I remember my blue pill days when I was just simpy as hell. I would get stuck on number 1, not all women, because I'd have to be like, well, that is right. Not all women are like that. That's a good point. That's actually a good point, Anthony. Not all women are like that. I stand corrected on this. I stand corrected. There are some mammals that do lay eggs. I'm sorry. When she's right, okay? Yeah, I would fall into all these little pitfalls and traps when I was blue pill, dude. What about men? That's a good point. What about men? Hashtag guilty. Yeah. I'm offended. You're a sexist. Oh, my God. Wait.
I don't want to be a sexist,
No, I don't want to be No. I don't want anybody to think I'm a sexist. Hold on. Wait, everybody. No, you a sexist. You male chauvinist pig. No, wait. Wait.
Why would you say that about me?
Personal insults. Be like, sounds like somebody needs to get laid. Wait a second. I've been laid this week. Hold on a second. Wait, hold on. Wait, show of hands. Who here thinks I haven't been laid this week? Hey, that's incorrect. I've been laid. Hey, come on, fellas. That's rude. Don't do that.
What is that though? What is that called when you're reacting to a woman that's throwing these little daggers at you?
Well, I mean, again, Anthony, you were a lot nicer to our listening audience than I am sometimes. I call it simpy as fuck. I mean, that's
you're being simpish. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you're being simpy as hell.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and by the way, I'm apologizing ahead of time for all these F-bombs that I'm dropping so far. That is not in good taste. Look, while, I might get kicked off this show for all these F-bombs, and then while I'm at home stressed, Anthony's out with the next. Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Anthony's going to get a new co-host. Oh,
no. Wait until I get passionate. I'll be worse. Trust me.
Now, number 6. So we have not all women. Number 2, what about men? Number 3, I'm offended. Number 4, personal insults. Number 5, word salad. And then number 6, as soon as I say it, all of you are going to go, light bulb moment. You don't know me. You don't know me, Anthony. You know what? You're saying all these things about single moms. I'm a single mom. You don't know me. You don't know me. Well, tell me why single moms are great. You don't know me. Just stop. You don't know me. I'm done here. You don't know me.
Wow.
No. You don't know me.
So much insight.
You need to quit acting like you know me because you don't know me.
That's a word salad in.
Okay, well,
inside.
Okay, I don't know you. So
true.
Since we're
let's
in
talk
a conversation,
let's talk about you.
It. No.
Let's talk about you then.
No, you don't know me. See, stop talking about what you don't know about because you don't know me. Okay, stop.
So strong.
Stop, because you act like you know me and you don't know me. You don't know me.
This argument is over.
Because you don't know me. And that slides right in to number 7, the final in the argument tree. Silence, arms crossed, shut down. This can sometimes lead to tears in hopes everyone in the surroundings will think you're a jerk and pressure you to, hey, man, just leave her alone. Hey, come on.
White Knight.
Oh, hey, Wes, you know what? You're over there making a lot of sense and talking in a lot of rational logic. Why don't you cut it out, man? Why don't you cut it out? Hey, man, come on, brother. I got to go home with this chick, man. Come on, brother. Hey, come on, Wes. Why don't you hey, Wes, cut it out. It's like, I thought we were all adults and we could have a conversation. Hey, Wes, come on.
Nothing says you have to be involved in a conversation that you don't have any knowledge about,
especially when you're not good at conversating. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then after number 7, silence, arms crossed, return to steps 1 through 6. I mean,
100.
I'm sorry, 1 through 7. We have 7 on the tree. Yeah,
7 branches.
7 branches on the tree. They don't go many more places than that.
Oh, they're stuck.
They're pretty stuck. If you just had this argument tree written down and posted on the wall, and you made a little buzzer every time they you need to quit acting like you know people. Sorry, that's number 6. You don't know me. Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about single moms. So you're saying all single moms?
Number 1.
No, that's number 1. That's number 1. Oh, Wesley, I'm so sick and tired. So you're dogging on single moms left and right. Didn't bring up single dads once.
What about isms?
That's number 2. Oh my God, this is stupid. This is stupid. You are such a sexist. No. Wesley,
this isn't fair. You're taking away all argument points.
Nope, we are. This is what someone, when we were doing this on Facebook in the group, that's what women were. That's so sad. That's what women were saying. That is so sad.
Oh.
They literally thought we have nothing to argue now. It's like, wow, that is your life. This is the only arguments you know.
I want to talk about nonsensical topics that has nothing to do with this argument.
With this discussion. Oh my God. I would love to see. I mean,
this is awesome. I love this fucking tree. I want to put this tree in like a decorative, I want to put it on my what do they call it when they paint a wall? Like
a mural?
I want a mural of this fucking tree in my living room.
Down here in the east side of Houston, near Navigation Studios, we need a mural done.
Like,
we need to commission an artist to do a mural of the women's argument tree.
Man, I will just pick any argument on purpose. I'm like, I don't care what the topic is. I know you're going to go to the fucking tree to talk about it.
Wait, so Anthony, you just assumed I would let you have my argument tree and just make a mural?
Yes.
Out of it?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I'm taking
it. So you thought I would do that. Anthony, you don't know me. You don't know me, Anthony. You don't know me.
Oh, man. This is brilliant, man. I love this. This is one of those things where when you hear it, you're like, yeah.
You're like, wow, this has been my whole life. Wow.
I've been allowing women to get away with fucking up my discussions by bringing up nonsensical points that has nothing to do with what we're discussing, and then we make it all about them.
We're getting close to the point, Anthony, where we're going to have guests on, and you and I are already giddy about having female guests on because
delicious.
We observed when watching the Black Phillip show, Patrice O'Neal did this genius thing where, when it's just you and I talking here, people can accuse us of sitting here in an echo chamber. They can accuse us of saying hypotheticals, but if we had a woman guest here, they would do all this, and you could just see live that this is like the only place they have to go. We would have to make a rule. We would have to give them like a legal pad and be like, okay, when you bring up another topic, write it down. We're gonna, like they're 5 years old. We're gonna stay on this topic. Write it down. Maybe we'll get to that by the end of class. No. That was good. Yeah. That was good. That was good. The true story. Shout out to our friend Erlene. How do you say Erlene's last name, Anthony?
Mangot?
Is it Mangot?
No, like Mango.
Mango. Oh, I like that. Mango. Yeah. Like Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Right? Shout out to Erlene Mango. She also has the podcast here locally in Houston.
Shall we proceed?
Yeah. Erlene is a fellow podcaster, and she's been very kind in supporting the Red Pill Phone Tap. You got somebody that's already grizzled in the game and knows a lot. Very, very, very intelligent gal. But she went on to comment in the comment section of our YouTube, and she says, what about single dads? And hey, don't say I'm just saying, what about men? And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? You did it.
She knew.
She knew as she was typing it.
So, but she still said it. This is what I'm saying. They have nowhere else to go.
There's nowhere to go. Even someone as intelligent and sharp as our fellow podcaster Erlene.
And for real, she's very intelligent. The thing is,
I think Erlene is going to do very well on podcasting because you and I talked about this last week. There is a lot of money in telling women what they want to hear. You and I we're doing the Lord's work over here. We're trying to tell men the truth. Hopefully we can actually enrich people's lives. Erlene is very much in that lane of positive thinking, Disney movies. Rudy Rudiger is gonna win the game for Notre Dame. It's basically all this stuff that you hear out there that kind of doesn't work, but people love hearing it because it sounds great.
When you're talking about the perspectives of men and women, right? We definitely have, especially coming from you and I, we kind of have this coach to player conversation dialogue where, get your ass in gear. I need you to run this play correctly. If you won't do it, I will replace your ass. Right? There's
right.
no there's no time to play with you. It's game time. We're looking for you to be successful in running this play. However, whatever it is, anybody that's played sports knows that dialogue from a coach. When you're coming from a female's perspective, you can't really talk to a female that way. And women
you
really
can in sports, right?
In sports, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the only place.
Yeah. Well, as a male coach, and I've seen that. I wondered about that dynamic when, as men coaching women like that, how far can they go when pushing a player when it's a female? Yeah,
that's a good take. I do think, as a lot of this podcast is. I know people take it like we're insulting women, but I think if you hooked us up to a lie detector test, we would say our real goal is to kind of help women get better. Being
accountable of a lot of shit you gotten away with. That's really where we are when it comes to like you said. It may feel like it's an attack. It's not. I mean, we're kind of like half-heartedly joking when we come with a lot of the when we mock.
We're bringing humor because it's more palatable.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of this shit is frustrating though as a man when you're 100. Living this life. Yeah. And you have to go through this shit, and you don't know how to navigate through it. The bullshit, like the argument tree. You living your life, and you're like having to deal with this shit.
Every woman you talk to,
and like I listen. I remember I was married. I was sitting at the table. We were. She's in the fucking argument tree because at this point in time, she's not talking to me. She's completely shut down. Won't talk to me. Right.
Wait, you said she's completely shut down, Anthony?
Number seven.
Number seven.
Okay. So she's completely shut down, won't talk to me. I come up with an idea to say, hey, you want to talk to me? Fine. I'll write to your ass. You know what I'm saying? Let's write letters like we can't communicate with our voices and shit. Right?
Please keep going. This is such a good story.
It's not good, man. I went through this fucking shit. This shit was painful.
Oh my god. This is the kind of shit this is the kind of shit and sidebar to this. Women know that if like other people were there to witness the terror they're putting you through.
Oh, they would never
act like this.
Never.
But they got you behind closed doors. Yep. Like, look at this. I'm going to make this motherfucker write letters to me.
And I was a fucking simp of the year.
Oh, man.
So she had a whole way with me. I'm writing these fucking notes, trying to explain to her, hey, I disagree with what you're thinking I am. And she made insults. She will call me out on shit that. And I was like, hey, it's not accurate the way you're coming at me, so let's discuss this. And
you said she's coming at you with insults?
With insults, yeah. Another branch on a tree. So I said, when I finally get to talk to her, and we start to have this conversation, because meanwhile, I wrote her, I think, like a 2-page letter. You know what I mean? I did, yeah. She wrote me a 4-page letter in response. Shout out to Aaliyah on that. She wrote me a 4-page letter in response, and I was like, okay, look, I'm not about to respond to all this shit. We're going to talk, right? I finally put my blue pill foot down, Wesley, and
I don't like the sound of this.
Yeah, and meanwhile, also, I'm not allowed to sleep in the same fucking bed apparently either. So there's there was that going on with that. So when we do start talking again, she started telling me about how I'm fucking up and how it's all my fault. And
but by the way, Anthony, for the benefit of the listeners, how'd this start?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We don't even remember how it started.
And you know what? I remember telling her I don't remember why we're fucking arguing and why she's even mad. And I asked her, I said, do you even know why I'm mad? She said no.
So then why keep it going?
Because women. We went to counseling, right? And I remember the counselor was saying, and I think I'll save this for a whole nother podcast as far as this story is concerned. But
yes, I want us to have a lot of time. Going to marriage counselors is a whole different lane.
Oh yeah,
that I want us to visit on the show because I'm not really convinced that they're very good at saving marriages.
They're not. Actually, the percentage of you getting divorced after seeing the counselor goes up. Wow. Yeah. When I looked it up, I was like, man, I think we made our marriage worse. I think from the perspective, we ain't gonna get to that topic.
Well, I mean, but it is a good segue for our next segment, because we're talking about communicating with women, and in this case, it's kind of like, what would you do different now?
Oh,
I mean, because you've got a whole segment dedicated to this, some really good real life online stuff going on. Which I don't know in the show prep beforehand, I found pretty interesting because now you kind of get to see Anthony go full circle where you've got nothing but this going on.
Right.
Versus he's trying to coach a guy. Now Anthony's not coaching a guy because he's a know-it-all. Haha, told you so. And again, the core of this podcast is trying to help people. And so you're going in and you're trying to help people. Now, Anthony, set this up. What was going on online with these gentlemen that you were talking to? Because I know you guys were debating on how to communicate with women.
Right. So, typical shit. A woman is mad at a man, and the guy is trying to figure out how to get around it without making her upset. And God forbid a woman gets upset. The planet should stop. And everyone else on the planet should pause and acknowledge her anger and fall in line.
Well, I remember we were doing the prep for the show today. And I remember thinking, because I've had this conversation with another friend, talking about how women are very good at, you talked about your wife shutting down.
Yeah.
You're talking about this gentleman you're talking to online. He's experiencing the shutdown. Women are very, very good at bringing your life to a grinding halt.
And if you don't, they'll call your job. It can get bad. It can get real bad.
Well, it depends. They learn what you hate. Like, I'm that guy where if you freeze me out, well, in my blue pill days, I was that guy. When you froze me out, I was, think about it, Anthony. I was tortured because think about it. The worst thing that they do to people on planet Earth, other than the death penalty, if you're
isolation.
If you're in prison,
the
worst thing they do to you, they put you in a hole and they isolate you from all human contact. You don't even get to see the guard. You see a hand, give you the tray under the door. Sometimes they don't even do that. You don't even get to see a human hand. So, I mean, I used to really, really struggle with isolation. And some of these women are really good at freezing you out. And this used to be torturous to me. So I don't want to let the listeners think we're dismissing this. But I would tell you, in my red pill days now, this is not effective to me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this guy, man. He he says that my wife is mad at me. Sorry, little tech issue.
Little tech issue.
My wife is mad at me, but I still have to text her. Because if I don't give her a chance to ignore me, she's going to be even madder.
Well, let's hold on. Let's unpack that for a second. So that is some psychological terrorist shit.
Yes, it is.
It's like do you think he accidentally learned this about her?
No.
No, she
This
very
has been
deliberately.
multiple times.
So I don't want to just ignore you. I need to ignore you, and I need you reaching out.
So I can ignore you.
Desperately reaching out. Now, do they have kids together?
I don't know about that.
Because that's worse. Now you've got this awkward household. Everybody's kind of tiptoeing around. And because obviously the person that's doing the silent treatment, they're obviously in the power position.
Of course.
Now everyone in the house is tiptoeing around her while they kind of look at you like, come on, man, cut it out. God, you made her upset. Just like in the argument tree, where they fold their arms and they cry. It doesn't matter how wrong they are and how right you are. You're the jerk because mom's crying. Or my daughter's crying. Or Aunt Pam is crying. You know, it doesn't matter. It's like they have like this built-in shit. If you fall for it.
Yeah.
They've got this built-in, win at all cost cards they can drop down. This trump card they can lay down at any time. And, yeah, so everyone's tiptoeing, and it puts you in a very cucky beta position in the house. Even the kids are kind of clowning you. They're like, God damn it. Oh, come on, Dad.
And trust me.
Why'd you make Mom mad?
And some of these immature-ass women will go and share the argument with their kids, with everyone in the house, with their family members, to let them know why she's mad. And they want the teen female effect to come in. And now everyone is against you. And you have to come correct. And you have to fall in line and do as she say. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah, and sometimes the psychological warfare gets deep. Like, they'll allow certain people to say shit out of pocket that normally they wouldn't be able to
correction.
say without correcting them.
Yep.
You know what, Dad? I think you're a fucking asshole to Mom, Dad.
See?
And then Mom's like, oh, he might have a point there.
Right.
He might have a point. Normally, he's not allowed to talk like that. He might have a point there.
And if he dare say it to her, and the dad doesn't come and you're gonna let him talk to
us like
his mom like that?
Oh.
Yeah, man.
We said this last week. Women always have the option to just become crazy at a moment's notice, and it's allowed, and that's why women can't be president. I'm sorry, Anthony. Go on.
You love this. So my response, man, to that. There was other comments, but my response was...
Don't skip the comments, though.
All right.
What were some of the people saying? Because I know there's somebody in that lane over there. Happy wife, happy life.
Well, you have a lot of, laughter and saying, oh, so true, and, oh, yeah, I agree. And it's like... Come on, man, really?
No. Like, my girl does the same thing.
Right. Like, you should be proud of this shit. Like, wearing it as a fucking badge of honor. Yeah, my wife shuts me out, too.
I'll tell you one thing. If Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah. And they take this happy wife, happy life shit to the extreme levels, man.
Where they get to act... Now, let me just share with you, because I don't think we touched this last week.
Okay.
Let me tell you, ladies, any ladies that are listening, and let me tell all you fellas that are listening that spout this stupid line. What happy wife, happy life means, and for women that are sophisticated, for example, I'll use my wife as an example. She finds this phrase so insulting. Because what you're essentially doing, guys, is you're coming over and you're patting a woman on the head going, well, if Mama ain't happy, she's going to go around and systematically make everybody in the house unhappy until she gets her way, because she's basically throwing a fucking fit like a toddler. I mean, that is what you're saying. You're kind of patting women on the head like they're just little toddlers. Well, yeah. Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. This is really, really big in the Bible Belt, by the way. You and I got in a conversation about this week on the phone. In the Bible Belt, it's really common for women to be really dominant. So you're telling me all the fellas in the discussion, tell me about it, brother.
Yeah. One comment I want to bring up is that the guy said, yeah, they're confusing as fuck. Gotta make it seem like it's hurting you too, so they can feel like they accomplished something.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, hashtag goals, Anthony.
Yes.
You got to have goals in life. I mean, her goal that day, make sure my man's hurt. Wait, did he text me 4 times, agonizing over a fight? Huh?
And if he don't, she don't have anything to say to her friends and family about him reaching out, begging, buying flowers and candy and bullshit.
Yeah, because let me tell you something. If he don't text, next. Yeah. You better come over here and bring some flowers. Yeah. Because if he don't text, next.
I responded, man. I couldn't help it. I was like, you know what, man? Let me speak truth to power a little bit.
Was your motivation, Anthony? Were you like, man, I need to help this dude?
Yes.
So that was your motivation. Yeah.
Yes. I'm
so
like,
you weren't coming in trying to, hurt any feelings or make someone feel stupid or
not at all, man. Listen, listen, Linda. No, I felt I've been there. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah, you were just sharing a story with our audience. Like, you were like, I was sitting there. I had to write letters, and she wrote a letter back. Like,
right.
Why didn't we just talk?
Right. Like, the fuck? You don't deserve my words, motherfucker. It's like, God. All right. Whatever, bitch. Like, I'm done with
Anthony,
that.
excuse me.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better unless you write me a letter. Oh, yeah, thank you. Excuse me.
More word
Hello,
salad.
Goodbye, girl.
They get off on that shit, don't they?
Yeah.
Listen to what I tell this guy. See if I was off or on. Because I got a negative response.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go into what I said.
No good deed goes unpunished, right?
Right.
Jesus. Trying to help
this is why I said, man, you can't force this information on people. It's almost they have to go look it out, search for it. Because if you just drop it on them, man, they can't take it. They were like, "What? I'm already in trouble." Well, anyway, let me go into this. I responded. I said, "The reason they do this is because we react to that bullshit. We got to learn to dry that shit out. We respond different. They will react different. We are the leaders, so lead them. Stop being scared of their pussy withdrawal threats. Pussy withdrawal is their ace in the hole. They have no other moves after that, other than emotional outbursts that don't and shouldn't move a man who is centered in his manhood. Stay steady, stay strong, my friends." So I get negative feedback on that, man.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to unpack, like, how could someone have taken that derogatorily?
Fear.
I'm just like, wow, that, and you even ended it with like a motivational line, like, "Hey, stay strong, stay steady, my friends." The end. Yeah.
I thought it was solid. I didn't go into a lot of like, you need to tell that bitch. I ain't do that.
Exactly. There was nothing there like that dumb bitch.
Yeah. I didn't try to get them locked out the house. I didn't do none of that shit. By the way, that happened to me too. So yeah. Wait till we get to that series where we talk about fucking fucked up situations and relationships, man. Yeah.
Well, and this is, we talked about the first segment was for our white knight fellas, or white knights and our Captain Save-A-Hos, because there's some points that they have right. And I know that you specifically pulled this segment out for our blue pill gentlemen out there, because red pill, and we talked about this on the phone earlier this week, Anthony. Listen, my mentality when it comes to this type of fuckery from women, 100% of the time is, guess what? The only way not to lose is not to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big old can of nope for me. Nope, I won't be participating in this today. Well, I don't want to talk to you for 4 days. Sounds like I got a 4-day vacation from talking to somebody. I don't know. But my purpose comes first. I got to live my life.
You never lose that, right?
Yeah.
When you're living your life on your grind, and you don't prioritize people before yourself and your purpose, you're never gonna lose it, and you're gonna stay who you are. And a lot of that bullshit that they've been able to pull on everybody else won't affect you. And if they do it for too long, or too repetitively, they'll find themselves out of your fucking life, honestly.
Yeah.
So do that at your own risk, bitch. Right? Yeah. So you want to play this, you want to play these games, you want to come at me like I'm some undervalued male that you've been running these schemes on in your life. No, you're not gonna get away with it here. And I'll let you pout and get frustrated, just like a little kid. Get your little cry out. Once you catch your breath, come back to reality. Come see daddy. Get in my lap. I'll pat your head. Hey, it's okay. Yeah.
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah. It hurts. I know it hurts.
Yeah.
But guess what? We're adults. We talk about this shit. And if we can't talk about it, I'll make a final call. I'll make a final call for both of us. Because like I said, man, I'll lead this relationship. I'm not going to allow your emotions to drive this relationship.
Let me give some really, really sound advice. Because my first marriage, this happened, so I experienced it.
Okay.
And I've heard a lot of psychiatrists and therapists talk about this. And it's very true. You have to be careful in life losing connections with people. Not just your spouse. Friendships. Coworkers. People that work in the same industry that you have a lot in common with. A lot of times if you lose connections with people, let me just say, there's no guarantee you're ever going to get it back. So what you try to do is you treat relationships like you treat plants, okay? Make sure they get sunlight, they get water. Don't let them die. Now, if they do die and they're mostly done, you can sometimes bring them back to life, but there's no guarantee. And that's how relationships with people are. Women, a lot of times, are very careless when it comes to this. And again, I gave the example, this in my first marriage. We got disconnected, and she would try to get it back together at times. I would try, and we were never trying at exactly the same time, and then we did try at the same time, and we just couldn't get it back because we
grew apart.
We grew apart. We had let it die. That little plant, we didn't sit it on the windowsill. It didn't get any sunlight. We didn't water it. It died. So you have to be really, really careful. This whole freezing somebody out sounds like a strategy for women to bend men to their will. Ladies, you're playing a very, very dangerous game, because let me tell you where my head goes immediately. If I think of my wife trying to do that to me, freeze me out, not talk to me, immediately my mind goes to this one place. Man, she might do that, and I'm not going to respond to it. Again, I told you guys, the only way I'm not going to lose this game is I'm not going to play it. And then I don't know what number of days it is. I don't know if it's 4 days. I don't know if it's 44 days. But there's going to be a certain day where I'm going to be used to her not talking to me anymore.
Not gonna care.
That's just how my life is now.
Right.
And now she wants to come back around. I might be used to doing it this other way.
Man.
Yeah, and see, so it's a very, and you don't know what that magic number is. It
Right.
It could be 2 days. It could be 202 days. But eventually, you're on a spectrum now of you're going to disconnect with this person.
Yep.
So this silent treatment, I'm going to make him text me, because that's all good and dandy for the lady in this scenario that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's all good and dandy for her. Until one day, the guy goes, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. And she's like, well, you know what? And then she comes in with the shaming tactic. Well, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. I knew you were going to do this. It's
you ain't a man, yeah.
Yeah, you ain't a man. You ain't shit. And ladies, that shaming stuff, it only works when a man loves you. If there was a woman walking down the street in front of my house outside my gate and say, you ain't shit, you ain't shit, you ain't a real man, you ain't, I would just smile and be like, thanks, lady. I don't know who the hell you are.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when a man really just wants out of your life, none of those tricks none of those the psychological terrorist tricks you used in the past. When a man's done, like, bitch, I don't want to fucking talk to you. Bitch, I am done, bitch.
I don't even want to fuck you.
I don't. Oh boy, we've been in those scenarios in relationships, haven't we?
Yep.
I crave sex from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, and I don't even want to fuck you. Yeah, ladies, it's a dangerous game you play in this scenario. Anthony's trying to help our blue pill guys out that are not ready for the red pill yet, because if you're giving great strategies, Anthony, but when those guys are finally fed up and they can come over to the red pill side, we talked about this, we teased it in the beginning of this podcast. We talked about you only come to the red pill when something really painful happens.
Yeah.
You're not living your life. You got 4 kids. They're all ready to go to Harvard. Your wife is giving you a blowjob every day, and your kids make straight A's and full scholarships to Harvard or Princeton. Depends on where they want to go. Yeah, and if you're living that life, you're not going to come to the red pill. The red pill is, we talked about this. It's analogous to the movie The Matrix. There's this world out here where nothing's the truth. And if you take the blue pill, you can go back to that world.
Right.
That you love, you feel comfortable with. You can use these communication strategies that Anthony graciously gave you. If you take the red pill, though, you can learn what your real worth is, especially for the young men listening to the show in the 32 to 36 years old range. You'll start to learn that you are in your sexual prime right now. And if you got married younger in life, you can start to see your sexual market value is pretty high. As long as you took care of yourself, you have all your limbs, you have both eyes, you don't weigh 475 pounds, 33 to 36, you are in your prime. Anthony, we didn't have this on tap, but this is in Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male. I know we're plugging it on the show all the time. The book's that good, so we're going to continue to plug it. It's our show. Screw you guys. It's our show. But one of the things he talks about is when men get into their sexual prime around the age of 33, right? And my personal experience, when I read this in the book, I was like, man, this is so true. So during this time in my life, I was going to college at night. Shout out University of the Incarnate Word, San Antonio. So I was going to college at night, and you had all these women that were divorcees. And I was trying to get into law school at the time, so I was in all these academic clubs. We had all these group projects and things like that. I remember that time period in my life. These women were throwing themselves at me, brother. I'll never forget that time period. I'm just like, it was this epiphany that came over me, like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, girls in high school had it going on. We as guys were chasing them all around the school.
That's when they're at their prime, yeah.
Yeah, that's when they're at their prime. 33 is right about that time. There's a lot of things going on. The main thing that's going on, women are coming out of their first marriages.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
These women that were going to college at night, I mean, just really throwing themselves at me like I'd never seen before in life. Not literally throwing themselves at me, but just pretty aggressive.
I was about to say, more aggressive than westernized women are, yeah.
Normally. Normally that I had experienced at that time in my life. And when I'm sitting here reading this book, it's just this huge light bulb moment of like, good God, this is so true. And these young men, bringing it back full circle, these young men that are in these marriages where women are acting like what you're presenting here with the guy you're trying to help out online.
Yeah.
If he's in that age range of 32, 33, ladies, be very careful because this is fuckery. I don't know where you learned it. I don't know if you learned it from your mom or your aunt or you came up with it on your own. But you're playing a very dangerous game. And the older men get, typically, we're on a bell curve, but typically the older men get, their sexual market value goes up. Yeah. The older women get, their sexual market value goes down.
Spoiled milk.
And I know you can tune into Shall We Proceed podcast, and Erlene will tell you that you're like a fine wine, and you get better with age, and all this. Yeah, there is endless podcasts and YouTube videos to tell ladies the opposite of what is true. The older you get, the less physically attractive you are. It's just a fact. And so you're playing a dangerous game if you're chasing these guys off, especially if they're in their sexual prime. That was a mic drop moment, wasn't it? That was just kind of getting quiet, like, ooh. And, you're trying to help this guy out. You didn't get a good response. Meanwhile, the person that's falling behind is this poor woman who's doing all the wrong things. And she's one or two or 200 steps away from chasing this guy off, and then he's gone forever.
Well, then you talk about if you have kids involved in this scenario.
Oh, God.
And you want this guy to endure the abuse, the psychological abuse and emotional abuse of wanting it your way. And when it comes down to like bullshit arguments, with women, sometimes, man, it's almost to the detriment of kids that had nothing to do with it at all.
We just did a whole podcast on this last week. This is the single mom epidemic, and while
they chase off good men, and say there are no good men available.
While mainstream media worships them.
And applaud them. Yeah.
And applauds them.
Yeah.
And by the way, and I get why they're doing it. Single women have a hard life because they're one person doing the job of two people. You're supposed to have two parents.
True.
With our species, that's how we operate.
Yeah.
But applauding them they made their own life harder. They either made a bad choice of mate or they chase the guy off. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I know nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. I get it. But it's the reality.
And it's not finger pointing or not playing a blame game of whose fault it is. I'm not in everybody's relationship. I don't fucking know what's going on out there. But I do know that it takes two people to fucking argue. It takes two people to get together and then break up.
I disagree.
So
it doesn't take two people to argue.
Well,
if you get a crazy woman.
Well, and let's be real. Let's be real. How many men out there are actually allowing women to get away with the arguments that we were just talking about?
Well, this brings. I mean, this.
So
we're probably going to touch this on every podcast.
It is our fault.
Yes,
it's our fault as men. We allow women to get away with this bullshit, and so when they get in relationships and they recycle and go to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy, they bring that same bullshit, right? And so the man, if she finally finds a man that corrects it and say, hey, this is not how I live my life. If you want to be involved with me, all this shit stops now here. And if she doesn't correct it, she keeps continuing on, moving and doing what she's doing. But if she does get corrected in that moment, she has to almost do an about face and do a lot of corrections, because guess what? She has bad habits. Mm-hmm. And she's going to do some more shit, right? Later on. And if you're a man of high value, you're not putting up with that much shit. You're not, like I told you before, man, when we was talking about me not being in relationships, because I don't like babysitting relationships. Mm-hmm. A lot of my friends don't understand that term when I say that. I don't want to have to help a woman be who she is.
You just got through chasing your purpose all day. You were at work.
Now,
on part of the day, you're like, hey, we got to put together a podcast this week. Also, I got to go to work. Also, I got a date with this girl. Also, I got this going on. And then I got to check in with this one girl, though. I got to see how her day's going.
Okay. No, I gotta.
I'm in trouble with her because I didn't text her today.
I was just about to say, I didn't respond in a timely manner, in her opinion, because she texted me 4 hours ago, and apparently I don't have enough going on in my own life to have an excuse of not responding to a text 4 hours ago. I hear these.
This is babysitting a relationship, and this is what we're describing right now.
And I don't want to have to go through explaining who I am. You should be able to see that in me as what I do and what I exude, right? And you see me as value, but you want to devalue me by putting me in the same category that you put these other men. And they got rid of your ass, or you left because you felt like you wasn't getting what you thought you deserved, right? But now you're in another situation, and for whatever reason, it's still not working. You're still not happy. What is that about? Because when we talk about men being on their purpose and they're going about their life doing what they have to do, what purpose does a woman have?
Oh, well, I mean, you asked the question, so I'll answer it. Specifically why she's upset that you're not texting back in a specific time, it's because 15 years ago, men couldn't stop texting her. 15 years ago, when she was in her prime.
Past the wall.
Yeah.
Hit the wall. And it's a hard thing to say.
She wants to feel that feeling again from 15 years ago. She wants the man to be so obsessed. Well, I don't want to use the word obsessed. A man is just so punch drunk with her beauty that she's getting texted here and there, and it's like, sweetie, you're kind of never going to get that again, except from simpy guys that you don't want. Those days are over.
Low standard, low value guys will give you what you want, but you're not going to be happy or complete while you're with them, especially if you've been with a guy high value, right? And you know what that looks like, what that feels like, being in a relationship with a high value guy where you're so. I've been in relationships, man, where women looked up to me like with admiration. It's scary, and I'm like, what the fuck you looking up to me like I'm on this pedestal, right? And I feel that energy, and I'm like, damn, I'm not in a position with you to where you should be looking at me like that, right? Because I'm just busy doing me, but I feel that energy that's coming from her where she's like, this guy is everything. He's this, that, and the third, and I want him to be the leader in my life. And I'm like, wait. I appreciate it, right? I appreciate you seeing me in that light, but we're not there yet as far as like you and I. Like, have you been in that situation where you're like, you're not ready to commit right then when someone is like, they giving you what you, because it's not about them, right? It's what they see in you. And sometimes, like, it's even scary. I've been in situations where it's like they see high value in me because they've been with a whole bunch of shitty guys, right? And then when they see me, then they were like, oh, well, I need to act right to a point, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they'll wait till they get some type of commitment, and then you can even feel them pushing for a commitment, then it makes it uneasy, even dealing with them.
Yeah,
right?
They feel safer because they know they no longer have to compete with other women. Yeah, that's that thing. They want to push to the point where they no longer feel that anxiety of having to compete. What they don't realize is it doesn't really make them happy.
Right.
Now they look at you as being weak.
What?
I wrote down a note on that, though, Anthony.
Okay.
And this is, we were worried we weren't going to have time to talk about this, but we promised our listeners we would talk about it this time, and I think, yeah, we're doing good on time. We can talk about this. I wrote down a note on what you were just saying, like a woman that's building you up, like, wow, she's admiring me, she's putting me up on this pedestal. These are actually red flags if you're vetting a woman. And we talked about, we might get to this topic today, vetting women. This is where, guys, this is where you guys are losing the boat. When I talk about it's our fault.
Yeah.
When it's our fault, I would tell you, Anthony, what I guess the percentage is about 85% of it is this topic. You're not vetting women. Okay, I want to give you an example.
Okay.
Because vetting women, that is what I do. Okay? So for me to find my wife, to find my unicorn, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because I vetting women for me was, I got really, really, really good at it. So you just, like, as soon as you said that,
yeah,
you said, this woman's putting me up on a pedestal. This woman's like, wow, she's admiring me. Red flag. Okay, because I thought two different things. The first and most common one is a woman is very insecure. When she's putting you up on a pedestal, she's making you a hero.
Right.
She's having these feelings. I never thought I would get a guy like this.
Right.
I never thought, oh my God. And then following, I wasn't sure if you were talking about the same person or not, but following you're not texting me. But this is a red flag. This is insecurity. I need to know that you're texting me. And this is red flag. This is a needy person. Someone that's getting upset about this. This is a needy person. Now, the other thing, you said someone putting somebody up on a pedestal, and this is the worst breakup in my life. It was good because it brought me to the red pill life, but dealing with someone specifically that has narcissistic personality disorder.
Yes.
Yeah. So we won't go deep into this. This is probably a whole segment.
Yeah.
But getting with someone that goes that has narcissistic personality disorder, that is how they start. They start building you up.
Yeah.
To be this huge thing because in their mind, you're now becoming their source of confidence, their source of feeling good about themselves. I achieved this high value person. I can't believe, oh my God, this guy's so out of my league. And they start building you up so that they can tear you down. And you go through this terrible, I actually jotted it down. We might try to get to it next podcast if we can.
Okay.
Because dating a woman with narcissistic personality disorder is now becoming, what I've read online, it's becoming way, way more common. There's a lot of things that are psychologically leading women to narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of social media, Instagram, things like that. There's been some recent studies done on how there's a rise in narcissistic personality disorder. And fellas, let me tell you this. And again, guys, we told you at the beginning of the podcast, don't be meatballs. Okay. We have to be realistic on this podcast. When you meet a woman and you get in a relationship, you're going to get very attached to her. You're going to fall in love with her. And when you get in that position with a woman, they've got a lot of power to damage you really, really badly. They have a lot of power. And that's what happened to me in my personal situation. dating somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, fell in love with their kid, fell in love with their family, became the head of the family. It was a dark ride, but I'm so in tune, Anthony, with vetting now because I'm longer in the tooth. I have more life experience.
I was about to say, man, a guy that's red pill is already know that he's not going to find himself in a situation like that, right? And if he does, he knows he's quickly going to get out of it. Like he's not going to sit in it and stew and try to figure it out how to make it work. What's very important when you said is that when you while you were in it, it didn't occur to you what you was in, right? While you were in it, right? You didn't recognize the signs of what it was, right? You had to go through that pain. You had to figure it out, what it is that you're dealing with, and then when you start to get kind of like the seed. I remember because me and you discussed and had conversations, and I'm sure there was like some seeds that were left behind, even though you didn't consume it completely. You were like, you know what? A lot of this is starting to make more clear sense to me because I'm starting to see signs of what he was talking about, right?
Oh, Anthony, I'm here to tell you. So one of my close friends who she is now getting her master's in nursing, becoming a nurse practitioner.
Uh-huh.
So because nurses work in hospitals, they have to be able to recognize what patients will try to pull over on them. Because, essentially some of these patients will live in the hospital. You'll come to work.
You said pull over on them?
Yeah, they'll pull the wool over their eyes.
Oh, okay.
Using different psychological strategies.
Okay.
One of the most common, narcissistic personality disorder is one of them. But one of the most common in nursing, when people stay in a hospital, it's a technique called splitting. Okay. So and then the very, very common way that they will do it, and nurses have to be aware of this, is the patient will, let's say Wesley and Anthony are the nurses in the hospital. So splitting is the technique where Anthony will come in and he'll start, taking her blood pressure, doing whatever the nurse is going to do. And the patient will say, "Oh, Anthony, you're working today. Oh, thank goodness you're working today."
Why is that?
Why? Oh, no, Anthony, it's not that big a deal. It's just that when you work, everything tends to go right. And then Anthony's like,
"What?
Well, wait.
What's not going right?
What's not going right when I'm not here? Oh, it's just that Wesley, maybe Wesley's new. I don't want to be a big fuss. I just they're very, and then
right.
So then I come in. You've got the day off.
Uh-huh.
I come in. Oh, Wesley, thank God you're here. Boy, that Anthony. Did Anthony just start? It seems like I don't know. Since I've been here so long, I try to help him. I try to tell him what to do. I just sometimes I worry when you're not here and so if we are not aware of this psychological technique that he or she is using on us, the patient could have us, pitted against each other. So they have to learn about this. So when I was going through this difficult breakup, this friend of mine that was becoming a nurse practitioner, she had to learn about narcissistic personality disorder. And so you were actually saying a second ago, I bet you were reading about this and you were starting to kind of see some of the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Anthony, it was very intense. As soon as I read like the second paragraph of it, it was like, oh my God. This is exactly what I went through. This is like verbatim.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me feel good too, because this is a cycle a lot of people fall for and go through.
Okay.
So, as we slide into this next topic, when we talk about vetting, guys, this is so, so important. Guys, I need you to understand and stop being a meatball for a second. Okay. If you're not, thank you. Guys, you have to understand how your body works. This is where women get confused. They think that they can just kind of outthink and out psychological everything. Men have a very strong desire for sex. Okay? And if you see a very attractive woman, it can, unless you take charge of it, it can overwhelm you, especially if she's very beautiful, or especially if she's giving you sex very readily, very, very often. And you will skip this vetting process. For example, the example Anthony used. Hey, it's been 4 hours and you haven't texted me. Instead of seeing that as a red flag and saying to yourself, through experience, I'm not saying it's obvious, but through experience, saying to yourself, okay, this is a sign of insecurity. I know now if I don't text her, she's going to get angry. She might get sad. I can't live my life like that because I don't know if I can always text her back within 4 hours. I got to live my life, okay? So if you don't have the wisdom and experience, or you haven't listened to our podcast and know that this is a huge red flag, you could think to yourself, that's a little flattering. She misses me.
Oh, man. That's blue pill all day.
What a sweetheart. What a sweetheart. Got it. I miss her too. I miss her. Let me text her back.
And give her
on the head.
And give her an excuse on why you didn't text her back.
Ooh. And it seems innocent, doesn't it?
It does.
Seems innocent.
But it's not.
Yeah, I'll never forget, the guy that laced me up on that. If you guys ever, another great podcast that Anthony and I have enjoyed is called AMS, Alpha Male Strategies. And it was AMS who hosts that YouTube show that laced me up that if you go on a date with somebody and you don't text them for a week, because you got stuff that you're doing, you're living your life, and then you go to ask them out again and they're like, I don't want to go out with you. I mean, you ain't even reach out to me all week. This is a sign of insecurity. Guys, you're going to most commonly see this if you ask a girl out on Monday and you say, hey, do you want to do something on Saturday? And she's like, yeah, let's do something on Saturday. Okay, cool. Saturday, I'm going to pick you up at 7 p.m. We're going to location A, then we're going to go to location B, and maybe we'll finish the night at location C. Cool. 7 o'clock Saturday, right? Okay. So 7 o'clock Saturday, right? Yeah. 7 o'clock Saturday? Yeah, 7 o'clock Saturday. Then Saturday comes, and you text her and say, hey, sorry, girl, I'm running a little late. 7 o'clock's going to have to be 7:20. Oh, I ain't ready. You ain't talked to me all week. I didn't know we were still going out. I bet you right now, Anthony, anyone listening to this podcast, bells and whistles are going off. This happens all the time. So, fellas, this is a sign of insecurity. You weren't just going to be able to say, hey, let's get together on Saturday, live your life until Saturday.
No,
you were going to have to
check in
with her all the way up to the date. So let me tell you, fellas, the reason that's a red flag is because you're going to have to do that for the whole
entire relationship.
Yeah. Don't live your life like that.
No.
Most guys would have this reaction. They would have, oh, man, I had her locked up for Saturday. I didn't make other plans.
Oh, my God.
No, fellas. Trust me when I say just go out and do something with the fellas or by yourself. Live your life because you just dodged a major blow.
Yes.
Man, Shorty was lit, though.
I know.
Anthony, but she was hot, man. She had a big old ass.
I know.
Coming out of them shorts.
Oh.
Damn it. Oh.
Listen.
No. You just dodged a bullet, my friend.
You don't want that in your life.
Stars.
Listen, man, you're bringing back memories, man. I'm sitting up here like, oh man, that's exactly what happened to me. And I used to, this is in my red pill days, man. I was like, I even called you. I think I called you. This happened to me. I called you. I was like, hey man, I'm trying to figure out how I should feel about this, man.
Yeah. She just like canceled on me. And
because I didn't reach out to you the entire week, you canceled, and it's like, what you wanted me to do? Like, you wanted me to update you, like, hey, I'm not dead, and I'm still gonna meet you later this week. Like, what the fuck do we have to talk about, men? This is what I want to talk.
My question is, and this is where I get frustrated. These women will swear up and down you did something wrong,
right?
Well, I mean, you didn't. "Oh, you didn't reach out to me all week, Anthony. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, come on, motherfucker. What about when you get off work on Friday? Mm-hmm. 2 days pass, you don't go to work, and you got to be at work on Monday. Bitch, do you make it to work on Monday?
Right.
Can you handle an appointment
She
as
can.
a motherfucking adult?
She can.
Jesus Christ, dude.
This, you know why, Wesley? You know why? We talked about this in our first podcast. Male orbiters.
Oh,
and she has so many male orbiters, right? She makes a date with you. You didn't check in with her all week. These male orbiters been checking in with her on a daily basis, saying, good morning, beautiful. Good night, gorgeous. And all week,
You didn't do it.
You didn't have shit to say to her, and you're the one who made plans. These guys ain't even stepped up to make a date with her. Or she's not even interested in them, right? Not in the way she's interested in you, but she's pissed off that she didn't hear anything from you, right?
Yeah. And the reason that she has so many male orbiters and she's become accustomed to this in her life is because this woman is like, this woman needs validation like a plant needs the sun.
Yes.
Constant.
Yeah.
Constant solar rays have got to come down on this plant.
Sad.
I'm just trying to tell guys out there, you dodged a bullet.
Oh, yeah.
You do not want this in your life.
Not at
you
all.
Don't want this in your life.
It's going to get worse. Yeah. It only gets worse.
Yeah.
It starts off with, you didn't contact me all week, to you didn't contact me within 4 hours, and you didn't contact me within 5 minutes. And she get to key your car because she's responding to you not responding to a text. Mm-hmm. Because you're out there probably with some other woman. Because she knows you have high value. She know other women will want you. And if she can't keep tabs on where you are and what you're doing, she's in her head about you're doing something that she don't know about. And you are saying you want to babysit that. But if you allow her to get away with that, you're saying, yes, I'll babysit you in this. I'll pat you on the back and say, sorry, baby, I'll do better. Fuck that.
The next thing you know, you wake up, 2 years of your life have gone by. Because this chick has eaten up all your time. She's insecure as fuck, so she's made your life miserable.
You're losing money. You can't be on your purpose. You're not able to do what you want to do. I've noticed this. When I'm in bad relationships, man, I'm broke. Because
financially and emotionally.
Yes. Like I'm more exhausted. Women should be a compliment and benefit to you, man. If she is a detriment or a liability, you gotta cut her loose. You can't be afraid of losing pussy, guys, at all. You can't. Because I know, it's good, it's juicy, she squirts, but let that bitch go, man.
She's for recreational use only. Man, when I was a kid, Anthony, excuse me, guys, I've been a little sick. When I was a kid, Anthony, I read, my favorite book was Robinson Crusoe, and I love this book, and there's this great part of it, and it reminds me a lot in my modern life. It reminds me a lot about relationships. And in this part of the book, Robinson Crusoe, he's stranded on an island. He's shipwrecked. He's all by himself. So he's having to do all this shit. He has to make his own shelter and all this shit. One day, this guy decides he's going to make himself a boat. So he can go out in the lagoon. He can go fishing, get himself some food, stuff like that. So he puts months into building this boat. Makes it, like he digs it out. He, cuts it out of a log, has to sit there and chop, the inside of it out, shapes it perfectly, makes this amazing boat. Then he's done with it. He stands back, he looks at it, he admires it a little bit, and then he looks back over at the water, and he realizes he built it too far away from the water, and the thing's too heavy for him to drag it out there. Yeah. So, Robinson Crusoe has a wise moment in the book. He looks over, he looks at the water, he pulls it, sees how heavy it is, and he says, that was a waste of time. And he didn't spend any more effort on it. He He didn't try to find a way to make wheels on it and get it back down because he built a boat too far from the water. And he decided to walk away from it forever. And every time he saw it, it was a lesson to him. Don't build boats too far from the water.
Wow.
And he every time he walked by it, it was a lesson. Fellas, that's what a lot of you guys need to do with a lot of these women. Look, this ain't working. Walk away. Look back on it. It's a great lesson. Walk away. Anthony, let's get more specific into this topic, though.
Okay.
When it comes to vetting, what are your big ones? What are the ones you're really looking for? I would tell you that whole thing where you need to constantly be texting me and touching me and stuff like that. That's probably, I'll be honest, that's probably number one for me.
Yeah, it happens quickly. You find out pretty quickly, especially if you're, man, man, do we have to go into the basics like that about texting and phone?
Because Anthony, because here's the thing. I'm telling you, the mistakes men are making, 85% of all these could be stopped if they would vet. Yeah. Listen, men are running face first into these women because they're hot.
Yeah.
And they want to smash.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, 2 kids later, they're cheating on him. They got the pool boy in there. I mean, this is the kind of things where most of the time, fellas, if you look back, you'll look at a few moments and go, man, when we first started dating, she kind of jokingly said, hey, I'm up front with people. I tell people I'm a bitch. And then y'all both had a little chuckle. and you guys have a chuckle.
Not to me. He's like, not to me. She hasn't been a bitch to me.
Well, you and I have a phrase that we live by. It's not our phrase. I don't know where it originated from, but you and I live by this phrase. When people tell you about themselves, listen.
Exactly.
you know. I mean, I'm telling you, that is probably my number one in this day and age. The whole you didn't text me, you didn't call me, and then they're mad and they're offended. That's like my number one red flag. But that's not the only thing to vet for.
It starts when you're talking about, and if we're gonna start from the beginning, let's just break down a scenario when we're talking about because I'm doing it every day. Especially
you're still out here in the game.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We had to take a brief pause. But going back to Anthony, you were saying, like, the basics of vetting women. Man, brother, I think we have to go back to the basics because the more I look around for fellas that I know that are dating, the more I find they're in miserable situations because this is a step that they completely skip.
Yeah.
As long as they're getting some ass... As long as they're getting sex on a consistent basis, don't scare the pussy away, right?
That's the goal.
I mean, I'll give you one, and this was before my red pill days. Like, I noticed I was dating this girl, and I'd known her before, and we'd always kind of had some chemistry. She kind of came from money, which I liked. Her family had money. I knew her from roller derby. So we had known each other for years, and we started dating, and it was going great. Great in bed, all that good stuff. But the red flag that I got was she's always, like, sick. And I started to kind of discover right away that her parents were not very supportive of her being sick. Now, where she wanted me to lean into was the White Knight, how we began the podcast. Oh, God. Her parents have so much money, and they don't even believe her. I've got to step in. And she was very much being very inviting of...
And that's very easy to fall into, right?
Because we're wired that way. Men are wired to, like, be a hero, We're wired to be very protective of women and children as a species. And I just and I asked somebody, because she was part of this bigger roller derby community. For anybody else out there that don't know what I'm talking about, I used to be the color commentator for a women's roller derby league for a lot of years. But I asked, another roller derby girl about her, and I was like, is And I just asked them point blank because I was very close with them. I was like, is she a hypochondriac? And they're like, they kind of had this pause because they liked her as a person. And this pause like, yeah, I kind of think so. Like, like they were kind of like, but she's really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to out this bitch.
Yeah, and even in my blue pill days, I was like, man, at this point in my life, long ago, I had enough problems going on anyways. I'm like, I can't take on someone that's pretend sick all the time, you know? And and this is probably going to sound humorous to people listening, but what you guys didn't live is me and this gal were really compatible. You know, I mean, like I said, great, and let me emphasize, really great in the sack. Okay.
Okay.
Just let's stop pretending that's not important to men.
Oh,
a woman
100.
that can sexually satisfy you very well,
which is very also hard for men to let go, right?
Let go, yeah, you gotta let go.
And this is very important. I almost don't want to go too fast with this because when you're vetting in any professional, like if they professional circumstance where they're vetting someone for a job and they gotta look into their background and see what they put on paper is actually valid, right? So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about what is being laid out in front of you, right? And the follow through. And what does the check and balances work for what she says and what she does, right? And the unsaid. The unsaid. So when you got a great...
So well said by you, Anthony. Seriously, the unsaid.
Yeah.
Because we talk about this all the time. Women communicate very covertly.
Correct.
The unsaid is so important, right?
Yes. And it's so easy to recognize. And if you're a blue pill and you don't understand what we're talking about, this is what we're talking about being red pill. You know, you are now being exposed to the actuality of what it is out here. And it's not the game is rigged. If we're going to just be honest, the game is rigged against you.
Currently, in today's day and age. Now, we talked about this before. It used to be rigged for men.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and then men got too cocky, got out of control, and
Lost
that's
it.
when the sexual and feminine revolution had to happen.
Yeah. Man. So much to cover, right?
Well, it's how do you eat an elephant, Anthony? One bite
at a time.
Right?
Yeah. And again, guys, comment in the sections below. You got questions about what we're talking about. But we're going to continue into this vetting situation. Yes. When we're talking about meeting a woman and we're listening to them because, and if you're on a date with a woman, you should be listening to her.
Especially when she talks about herself.
Correct. This is very, especially if you made her comfortable. You had some drinks, you know. She's laughing, you know. You've gotten her to relax. You listen to her words because she will definitely tell you the truth up front, and the lies you will understand to know as well. The more you develop into this red pill knowledge. The truth of the matter when it comes from her, she will talk about, and let's say she's single and she's talking about just her, because women if they're educated, they want to talk about their accomplishments. If they travel the world, they'll talk about shit like that. But listen to stuff specifically that comes to about her past relationships.
Ooh, yeah. These are your treasured waters of finding problems.
Yes.
When they talk about past relationships, if you want, a big red flag here that I want you to watch for, fellas. Did every guy physically assault her?
I'm leaving immediately. This is it. We ain't even getting dessert, bitch.
Hey, well, Anthony, but explain to our listeners, because this is a real, again, if we go back to basics, Anthony.
Yeah.
You know, listen, I'm 42 years old. Okay, a 22-year-old listening to this may not know because the 22.
You feel sorry for her.
Yeah, he may not know, and the 22-year-old listening may fall for the same shit I did when I was 22.
Yeah,
and hey, these other guys beat her. I want to be the first good guy
to not put my hands on her.
Yeah. Now, Anthony, explain to our listeners. It sounds good. Nothing sounds wrong with that. You want to be the first good guy. There's nothing wrong with that train of thought. But Anthony, explain to them the reality of what's really going on with this girl.
The reality of the situation is that she's putting herself in a position to where somebody's putting their hands on her. So it's either through her verbal assaults or her own physical assaults initiating this shit, right? There's not a group of men, and we talk about vetting women. There's women out here that get with certain men too, that they just have a habit. Their choices are bad. Like, they're not accountable for picking a bad guy. Most of the time, when you're talking about a younger chick like that, she's looking for a bad guy. She wants a bad guy, and I had a ex tell me that I mean, when she told me this, I couldn't believe it, but I was blue pill, and I was like, I'll do it.
Sure, it makes sense.
She said she didn't feel loved because I didn't put my hands on her.
Yeah, the crowd got after that one. They were like, man, she didn't feel loved unless I did put my hands on her. Anthony, that makes no goddamn sense. It makes no goddamn sense.
0 sense. And I looked at her strange because she had a false tooth, because a partial false tooth, because he knocked the shit out of her, and she was telling this story almost bragging.
Whoa, really?
Yes, like,
whoa, recreate this because I got to hear this.
All right, man. So I'm a question asker. I'm very inquisitive. So I asked her, I said, hey, I see that your tooth is discolored. Like, one's like, I'm trying to say, did the dentist do something wrong? What happened? She was like, oh, well, I was dating this guy, and, she called him, he's very passionate. And so, yes. He's very passionate, and we were getting in an argument, and I kind of pushed him, but he punched me, and I fell down, and I hit the cinder. Where the parking cinder block is. She fell down and chipped her tooth on the fucking parking cinder block, and she had to get because it was her front tooth.
Sidebar to this story, Anthony.
Yeah.
Do you know that's like one of the most common ways people accidentally murder people?
Really?
They'll get into a fight and somebody's head will go into one of those.
Wow.
Well, because you think about it, it's a concrete piece that sticks up from the ground. It's like, look that up online, listeners.
Wow.
This is one of there's unbelievable amount of number of people that are in prison for accidentally murdering somebody, getting into a fight, and so your girl's lucky. Like, she only lost a tooth. Like, Jesus, man. Anthony, the girl getting hit, I see two major lanes for our listeners. These are the two major lanes, and these are your red flags, and this is where we talk about vetting women. The two lanes that I see is the lane Anthony was kind of talking about, where they kind of get off on being a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to be specific. I'm not talking about this happened to somebody one time, or they're 45 years old and it happened to them twice.
Yeah,
we're talking about women that are just
constantly.
What a coincidence! This guy just
every guy
just happens to beat me up. Yeah, it's just like, okay, this is not a coincidence. Something's going on. And so the two that I've observed, now there might be more. Again, ladies, if you've been beat up one time and you said, I'm never going to go through that again, you're not the people I'm talking to. Okay?
Right.
This isn't a red flag for you. You just had something horrible happening.
Right.
But the women where it just keeps happening over and over, I see two lanes. The first one is they get this attention from being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, get off on it.
Yeah. Like you said she gleefully told you that story.
This is a badge of honor to her, man, talking about this. Like, and the way she explained it to me, she said I was too nice. And I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. She was like, well, you don't argue with me. You don't, put, hands on me. It makes me feel like I'm loved when you want to fight for me. And I'm like, fight for you.
Talking about me fighting you.
Yes. You see how delusional the bitch is, right? But that's sickness. That's a sickness in them that you can't fix. Don't be a fucking white knight and try to fix somebody that they need medical attention. They need professionals. They don't need a boyfriend.
And you're not a professional.
No.
Yeah. They need psychological help or probably medication.
And medication, yes. That's what I'm saying. They need medical attention. So do not fall for these victims, these constant victims. Not, and there's people that has been in, a situation. We discussed that. So I don't have to touch that. I don't want to fucking get email about this shit. So, being a victim is not.
It's like it's thrilling to them, right?
Yes,
They
get the attention not only from the people in their life that's close to them that has heard about it, but every time they tell the story, they get a new fucking fan.
Yeah, and they get this automatic swag comes out of the story, like, oh God,
come here,
you're so brave,
right?
You're so brave. How come the last 4 dudes beat you, though? It's just, the one
you got a big mouth, bitch. Like,
is you. Yeah.
I can see you in my face. This is what we were talking about, too, about having accountability as a woman. You put yourself in the position with a man. Like, you wouldn't throw yourself in a den of lions and be like, I'm going to slap these lions. And they shouldn't do anything to me because I'm a woman.
Brother, I have a daughter, okay? And you better believe that in my house, I'm going to have very serious conversations with her about, hey, you are responsible for your personal safety.
Yes.
It starts with you. Yes, we have police out here. We have firefighters. We have soldiers. We have white knights, Captain Save-A-Hose, and alphas who want to help you out.
And you can legally carry a gun in Texas.
Yeah, and concealed handgun carry, but it starts with you. You don't put yourself, hey, I could walk out here on the sidewalk in plain view, or I could cut down this alley. Don't cut down the alley. You're responsible for your personal safety. You're responsible not to jump in the lion's den.
Correct.
And slap them on the jowls. Now, we talked about this being 2 lanes. So we talked about the girl that is always getting beat up.
Yeah.
The one lane is she gets off on being a victim. Do you know what the other lane I see? And I lived this because I saw my own stepmother do this. The other lane that I see, the girl that's always getting beaten, is they drive a man to this rage and anger to finally get them. I mean, we all have a breaking point where we get physical. Now, I'd like to think, you and I are pretty intelligent guys. You're going to have to go really far with us before we run out of words and ideas to come at you and we get physical. But everyone does have a breaking point, especially when, in this case, observing my parents where alcohol was involved. And I'll just give you the example here. And the other lane I'm talking about, I'm sorry, guys, let me preface this. We have the lane here of they get off on being a victim. The other lane is they get power out of this. And let me explain. So I watched this with my parents. So my father, a lot of people are really, I always roll my eyes when people say, wait a second. Are you telling me you drink in front of your kids? You imbibe alcohol in front of your little ones? I always roll my eyes. And I'm not passionate about drinking in front of my baby, but I don't care either way. But I always roll my eyes because my father was very, I don't know, he was very standoffish from us kids. He was very much an introvert, didn't like to talk to us or associate with us. But if he came home a little lit up from the bar,
yeah,
all of a sudden he'd want to like get on the floor and play with us and our toys, and it was like, oh man, this is cool. Dad's being really nice, and it was kind of the only time we kind of got Dad like that.
Wow.
Right? So my father was a happy drunk.
Okay.
Right? Now, for
me too, by the way.
Yeah, for my stepmother though, that wasn't good enough. She had to wait a second. You came home drunk. Yeah, bitch, I came home drunk. I've been at the bar for 4 hours. What do you think we're up there doing? Playing checkers? Motherfucker. I've been at the bar for 4 hours. I told you when I was going there, and now I'm home, and I'm drunk.
Man.
Yeah. What did you think was happening, man?
This is the victimhood shit, right?
Yeah, I've been here with these kids.
Gosh.
You've been here playing Nintendo, bitch. Don't act like you ain't over here curing cancer.
Right.
You know? And so she would finally get him into a rage, and she would like, she would go to great lengths, Anthony. I watched this with my own eyes. This isn't speculative. So she would like take vases and ashtrays and throw them at his head, break shit, break his shit in anger, until finally he goes and like grabs her by the hair or something like that. Okay.
Wait, who's the one's drunk again?
Exactly. The person that's sober is doing all the weird shit. Again, I witnessed this. My father, and I'm not defending either party. Let me tell you, to our listeners, both these motherfuckers are crazy. I'm just telling you what happened in this situation. I'm not defending either one of them. But so my father, he would get up from playing with us with the toys, and we'd always be like, God dang it. You know, even as little kids, me and my brothers would be like, God dang it, Dad's finally playing with us. Come on, man. Why you always got to be tripping? He's fucking being cool, you know? And then they would start fighting. He would get physical with her. Nothing major. It certainly wasn't anything. The irony of this is that she was beating me 10 times worse than he ever got physical with her. But when she woke up in the morning, she'd just kind of be huddled up in a ball and crying. Do you even remember what you did to me last night?
This bitch sounds sick, man.
Oh, she's so crazy. She's the craziest of the crazy. And then he would be like, well, I do remember grabbing you. And I did grab you by the hair. Yeah, you beat me. And then she got to use that for like 3 months.
Wow.
To just kind of stomp around and blame and run around. Now, see, this is where the red pill phone tap is very complex, right? Because if we're on the Jimmy Fallon show or Good Morning America, we just got to sit up here and be like, all men that beat women no matter what, they're cowards and they're pieces of shit. No, I systematically, as a child, watched this crazy bitch do everything in her power to finally get this guy to be physical so that she could now be the victim. But she didn't like go around talking to everybody, playing the victim like the other person we described. Mm-hmm. She wanted to have power over my father. Like, hey, will you bring home pizza tonight? I don't feel like cooking. Man, I brought home pizza last night, man. Like, oh, really? Is that how you talk to battered women? You won't buy them pizzas? Like,
God damn, bro.
So I'm telling you, fellas, as we talk about vetting women, those are the two lanes that I observe when women they're consistently getting beat. Again, ladies, on this show, we're very sensitive to women that have been beaten. Okay, I was a battered child, so I'm very sensitive to domestic abuse. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about those women that are like, really? 5 relationships? The dude beat you up?
And on the other extreme side of women that act manly and will challenge a man and get in their face and dare them to do something. I dare. What you gonna do? You gonna hit me?
Can we go quick sidebar on this, Anthony? Because I've wanted to talk about this the last 2 podcasts. We actually talked about this on the pilot podcast that we did that we've never released. When are women... we talked earlier, we kind of talked about for just a second, how positive it was for women to play sports. You know, back in the 1950s, women just simply didn't play sports.
Yeah.
The ones that did were usually rich, you know.
Yeah, it was
outliers.
polo.
Yeah, outliers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and women played golf a little bit.
Yeah.
But women playing sports is really good. And the reason that women don't know about fighting, little boys grow up wrestling one another. I'll never forget this, Anthony. I was in kindergarten, and I'd seen countless times on TV, you just pull back, and you swing, and you hit them right in the face, and they just get knocked out. And that's how life is. I saw it in the movies. I saw it on Chips. I saw, everything you see, no matter how dorky or how small the guy is, Marty McFly, he balls up his fist and he just boom.
Right. And the dude just passed out.
They just pass out, right? So I remember I was a little kid. I was in kindergarten. I'll never forget this because it was such a big lesson. I was getting off the bleachers. We were just getting ready to go. And I wanted to get froggy. This kid didn't do anything to me. Nothing. But I wanted to have that moment of just like hauling off and punching this kid in the face. And I jumped down off the bleachers, the very bottom row, and I walk over and I was like, boom! And I hit this little kid in the face. He was bigger than me. This motherfucker looks at me like, oh, really, motherfucker? And I was flabbergasted because I thought, like, I hit him in the face.
You're supposed to be on the ground.
And thank God that we were all kind of being rounded up to go back to class at the end of recess.
He would have had.
Because this kid would have, like, pummeled me. I mean, he already kind of pummeled me with the last, 12, 15 seconds he had left.
Yeah.
As we were getting rounded up. But I'll never forget, something happened to me in that moment. I realized where I am on the ladder.
Yeah.
I realized, like, oh,
yep,
that's not real life. I can't just roll off and punch people. Bringing it back full circle, women don't know this. Women they literally think they can beat up men. And it's just not true. Guarantee you, if any women listen to this part of the podcast, they're going to be like, not all women. Not all women. I know some women that can beat up men. Let me tell you. So,
no.
For those of you, if this is your first time listening to this show, I was an amateur MMA fighter, jiu-jitsu, tournament. What do you want to call it? Jiu-jitsu competitor.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu submission wrestling competitor. So I've rubbed shoulders with some pretty famous MMA fighters. When Ronda Rousey was really, really big, there would be a lot of guys that'd be like, well, yeah, Ronda Rousey. Oh, I mean, she could probably beat up half the men out there. I mean, she could probably just. I mean, I almost wonder if she needs to start fighting some of the men in their weight class. Okay, Ronda Rousey can't beat up the lowest UFC dude and the lowest, lightest division. You know who would be the first person to admit that to you?
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. Yes. And this is just what it is. Now, does that mean Ronda Rousey's not entertaining to watch? No. I loved her run. I still love watching women's MMA. I love watching women's soccer. I love watching women's volleyball, tennis.
She was like the biggest thing since like China, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Except she was fighting people for real.
Right, right.
I mean, at the end of the day, that WWE stuff, while it might be entertaining to some of you,
it's still physical, yeah.
It's still very physical, but she's fighting people for real. She also was a bronze medalist in judo, bronze medalist for the U.S. Olympic team.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so she is legit. Her mother, I believe, was a silver medalist in judo, and so she's as tough as they get, right? Ronda Rousey can't beat up dudes. And so Ronda Rousey, the only guy that she could like be with, she had to find another fighter because she couldn't really like respect anybody else because she's that tough of a broad, right? But Ronda Rousey would be the first to tell you. I tell you, I told you guys this on the podcast, on the pilot episode. I worked out in an MMA gym with a gal that went on pay-per-view and fought Cyborg for the UFC title. Inexperienced guys in our gym were having their way with her. Bringing that back full circle to ladies that have never even really been in a fight that wasn't broken up very quickly.
Yeah.
You can't fight dudes, ladies. You're doing this thing again. You're playing a very dangerous game. perfect example. The girl you were just talking about. She gets thrown down on that fucking parking column or whatever it's called, parking curb or whatever, those things that they have in parking lots. People get killed doing that. She just lost a tooth. It's a very dangerous game. You and I had a phone conversation a while back about one of my favorite books as a child called The Call of the Wild. And in The Call of the Wild, the main character, Buck, is a dog that's getting trained to be a sled dog to go to Alaska. Part of his training is they let him out of the cage. There's a guy in a red sweater, and he has a club. And Buck is like, man, I'm about to kill this. I'm going to rip this dude's throat out. Every time he jumps up, that man comes down with the club, pummels him, falls to the ground, like, whoa. Gets back up, goes back after the dude again, pummels him with that club again. Hits him a third time, and he feels like some of his life came out of him. He got back up, and he was like, from that moment forward, I knew I could never beat a man with a club. That man in the red sweater taught this motherfucker that he can't beat a man with a club. Ladies, I wish y'all could understand you're playing a very dangerous game when you get physical with a guy. It could lead to your death, especially if you do have children. This is a very, very dangerous game. And Anthony, this is my question to you. Do you really feel like they just don't know that they can't beat a man in a physical altercation?
Well, I think they have a lot of, like we talk about, a lack of accountabilities when they come to, they have a lot of securities or false securities when it comes to someone protecting them from approaching a man, right? Where the societal laws allow them to get away a lot more. Now, I know we're going to have someone talk about, well, women get arrested too, type of shit, but let's be real.
Not all men.
Let's be real. Like, for the most part, they're going to inspect the woman first when it comes to violence. And if she has any bruises of any kind, man, you're done for. And, you know, all it has to be is accusation. It doesn't have to be real. It just, sometimes it just has to be accusation. And if she has any kind of pull with any law enforcement, then that's your ass. So,
well,
I think
that's a different thing. I mean, that is a conversation I want to have eventually on this podcast, is how women abuse that system. But I'm just talking about just the medicine women need to take of, you cannot step into that cage with a grown man and come out the other side of it. That's not, do they really delusional. Not? I really think they don't know it's possible. I think they watch movies like Harlem Nights, and they see that girl beat up Eddie Murphy. And again, like, we're laughing, but ladies, it's show business. It's not real life.
Yeah, it's not real.
That's like every time.
But you gotta understand too, this, she don't expect the man to come at her at full bore. She don't expect that.
But nobody expects. This is what confuses me. This is why I totally got off on this sidebar. I apologize. If we have to get back to vetting in the next podcast, we will. But I'm so confused. When a woman like starts acting like a badass with me, it gets me very confused, because I'm like, what? Do you think you could like beat me up or something? Like, in the physical space we exist in, I know I can bench press 250 pounds. You probably can't even bench press 100. Why? Where does all this confidence come from? Like, you think you're going to get in my face? Oh, excuse me. What do you? No. Oh, I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. You're like, it's like, you would never do what I'm confused about is this. You would never do that to a pit bull. You would never go up and slap it in the jowls and be like, well, you're not supposed to bite me.
Right.
You're not supposed to bite me. If you bite me, I'm going to call animal control. You better not. You better not. No, a woman would be like, dude, I'm not going near that dog. That's fucking dangerous. Right. But they don't think that with men. I mean, you guarantee
twice their size.
I'm going to teach my daughter that. I'm going to teach her. I'm going to be the guy in the red sweater for my daughter. I'm not going to beat her with a club, but I'm going to teach her you can't beat a man in combat.
Period.
You can beat other women in combat, and if you want to be a fighter like your dad, cool. We can look into that. But you can't beat a man in combat. Even men that are not trained, you can't beat them in combat either.
So Wesley, since they can't beat up a man, what is their alternative? What if they're in a situation where they feel like they have to fight a man? What's their alternative?
Their alternative is to not do it. Yeah, you do not. Similarly, and ladies, if you're listening,
don't put yourself in a situation to where you have to fight a man. Is that what you're saying?
I was going to say, the bear exhibit at the zoo. Don't jump over in there. If you don't jump over in the bear exhibit, you're not going to have problems getting bit by bears at the zoo.
Right.
And the same thing with men. It's a very dangerous game. And you know what else is even more dangerous, Anthony? The women that are listening to this that are going, well, I know this one girl that did beat up a guy. It's like, you're not listening, ladies.
Yeah.
You're playing a very dangerous game. Yeah, you know this one girl that did kick a pit bull in the jowls, and she got away with it. That's not a game you want to be playing.
Yeah,
and
it's Russian roulette.
Anthony, but part of me thinks that they get that confidence, like if they grew up with a single mother or something, and the single mom's trying to be in the masculine and the feminine role.
Yeah.
Is that kind of also?
I think they've seen masculine women in their lives that got over on a guy who was very beta.
Who didn't fight back.
I was about to say he's very beta. Allowed it because he didn't know better, and instead of them seeing that there's a retribution for getting involved with that, then they feel that, hey, if a guy isn't doing what I want, then I just got to put my hands on him to make him do what I want. And it's sad because now we're gonna get into a lot of like psychological things that can run deep. But I don't want to veer off too much on topic. But I think it's dangerous for women to feel that because your comfortability with the man, that you think that he won't respond in a certain way, that you get ultra aggressive with him and think that he is supposed to have the ability to restrain himself. You don't know what mental state he is in that day or in that moment that will make him snap, and then he has to explain a murder.
Or, and this is probably more common, and your friend went through this too, what people don't... Man, I get this all the time. Man, Wesley, you are an MMA fighter? Man, you'd come in really handy if there was a bar fight. I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Once the fight breaks out, I'm headed for that fucking door. You will get... I'm not going to get cut with a bottle or
right.
Someone pulls a knife on me or even if none of that happens, just to get in a fight that I win. What people don't realize with fighting is there is collateral fucking damage that you take.
You don't come out of it unscathed.
Like old girl didn't get killed when she got curb stomped, but she lost a tooth for the rest of her life. She ain't got a tooth now. That's what I'm saying. Like, ladies, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, fighting's a cool sport in a controlled environment with a referee.
Right.
That is not... Violence out on the streets is dangerous as it gets. You might be... Like, one of the things that someone told me, like, right away, I was feeling pretty confident about myself. I was, pretty proficient Muay Thai boxer. And they were like... I was like, yeah, if something happens, man, I know I can defend myself. And they're like, motherfucker, my coach, you don't know anything. Guess what? You can defend yourself. Not against bullets. Motherfucker pull out a gun. Not against a fucking broken beer bottle stabbed in your back from behind from his buddy.
Right.
Like, you assume, like, even MMA fighters, Anthony, assume, like, it's going to be like what I trained for, this controlled environment. There's some ropes. There's a guy in stripes walking around making sure it doesn't get too rough. Hey, no eye pokes.
Right.
And then women wanting to step through the ropes with people that are twice their size. I mean, even in, again, with organized fighting, there's weight classes, Anthony.
Right.
They have to be the same size.
Right. This is why I'm totally at a loss of words when it comes to women raising their hands at men that are completely outmatched, and they're like verbally daring the guy to do anything. Mm-hmm. And when they do, they're shocked, and then they want to grab a weapon, and it's like
it's too late at that point.
You're escalating. You're escalated it to a point to where now you feel like your life is in danger. Mm-hmm. So now you're grabbing a weapon, but you put yourself in this situation.
Yeah. And you're putting yourself, ladies, I just want to point out for the record, you're putting yourself in a situation that the guy on this microphone right now, who is trained MMA, who is trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who's trained Muay Thai boxing, I would not put myself in that situation with a guy my own size.
Right.
My same exact weight class.
Because
I know collateral damage occurs. I know it's not worth it.
Speak on that shit, man.
Man, I know it's not worth it. So I don't understand why they're doing it. And Anthony,
false securities, man.
Can we get to the baseline? Men that beat up women, I don't agree with it.
Piece of shit, yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. But here's the thing. What I'm talking about is a specific point of view that I have when I've had women come at me in the past, physically, and of course we got rid of those ladies. That's a big red flag, right? Going back to vetting. But when they came at me, it was so confusing. I was like, "Girl, in the scientific space that we exist in, if I got my wires crossed and lost my mind,
right?
I could kill you with my bare hands.
Right.
Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, I would never do that, but what gave you the idea that you could... it's confusing. And I blame a lot of it on movies and media. You got Jennifer Garner in movies, beating up dudes.
She's, man... Yeah, you know, she's sexy, man.
Yeah, she is sexy. But, you know, I don't count these superhero movies because those female characters have superpowers. But it's just like when you see normal.
You saying women out here pretending to be fucking superheroes? I'm gonna take you out. I just saw Wonder Woman, and
so women aren't doing that, but they might see Harlem Nights and see that big girl beat up Eddie Murphy. Which, by the way, let's keep it real. That girl in real life could not beat up Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, she's a big woman too, and
she still can't.
And you're talking about, man, but just the biology of it all, man.
Well, I mean, bone density,
right?
Testosterone,
yeah, muscle mass,
musculature, muscle mass.
Come on, like you're match.
We literally have to sit here and explain this.
Yeah, you do.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, but it's rampant, and you try to figure it out logically, but there's no logic involved because most of the women that are putting themselves in a position is emotional. It becomes too emotional of a situation for them. They can't handle it verbally, so they physically try to get their way. And when
they run out of words.
They run out of words, right?
Run out of ideas.
It's an immature. Men. If a woman cannot speak to you, women have the ability to talk 3 times as much as us, so they use more words. They probably have a better vocabulary. That's why you say, well, women are more smarter than men because they use words a lot. But it's not true. But
by the way, I was going to say
it's not true.
That's not what I'm experiencing out here in the world.
Listen,
you tell me Instagram models have better vocabularies. Shout out to our girl Erlene. Maybe Erlene has better vocabulary.
Oh yeah, man, Erlene's intelligent.
But Erlene is an outlier.
Yeah, I'm
She's
saying
also a podcaster. It's her business to talk.
I'm saying that for a woman to lose all verbal skills and put her hands on you, that is a dangerous individual, right?
And it's also kind of disgusting.
Oh yeah, 100. Like we talked about us as men.
We don't do that.
We don't do shit like that.
We know how dangerous it is. That's why a lot of men don't get in fights. Now, mind you, we all know gangs exist and fights happen downtown. We get it. That's why bouncers exist. But most men, the The majority.
And you said bounce because you said bars because it's drunk and but
yeah, even then
sober,
it's like the alcohol. Yeah,
right.
Sober men for the most part they know what's at stake because they had an instance on the playground.
Exactly.
Like I did in kindergarten. They know where they rank in society.
Yep.
That's why I think sports is great for females. I think women being involved in sports is phenomenal because Ronda Rousey.
She was ragdogging women.
Yeah, and at no point, and see, we said it in one paragraph. We're like, Ronda Rousey can beat up no men in the UFC, but at no point were we like dogging on Ronda Rousey. We're like, man, she's still a badass bitch, though,
right?
Like we still admire her as an athlete, and that's, we really need to put together a podcast about this. Just because you're not equal doesn't mean that you're not better or cooler or more entertaining. Who would you rather watch play soccer? The women's team or the men's team right now?
The women's.
100% the women's. They're incredibly entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
They're incredibly proficient. Way better in their league
right.
than the men's team.
We're talking about U.S. soccer, by the way.
Yeah, U.S. World Cup soccer.
Yeah.
But if the men played the women, the score would be like 55-0.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're not cool in their own lane.
Man, it's so important, man. And when you say that, it's very important to understand that you do have a lane. Like, you have a category. Like, it's okay. Like, we talk about this a lot, you and I, when we talk about women. It's okay. It's okay to be different. You're not equals to men. Women and men are not equals. That's why we have different.
They do deserve equal rights.
Yeah, they get equal rights. Equal rights. That's human rights is when we're talking about that.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about men and women as equals, we're not. We're simply not in a lot of ways. So when it's not a mark against you as a woman or a gender, it's just a fact. And so that's why I don't agree with the transsexual being in women. As a man, being born a man, you still have the biology of a man, but you're breaking records in women's sports.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know about this, because Anthony and I have talked about this countless times. So you have these men that are transitioning into women, and then they're going and playing women's sports. And this is a travesty, okay? Because to Anthony's point, they're going into every single one of these sports, and they're breaking all these records. And this is a race to be, quote-unquote, fair. That is not fair to women, 100%. And we just talked about, man, that was such a good point, Anthony, because we just talked about how positive sports can be for women to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't step up to a dude. I lose that fight 100 times out of 100, And then you get them involved in sports, and then here comes a guy who transitioned from a male playing in the same sport. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because the roller derby league that I used to commentate for 7 years rather. They have started, it was an all women's roller derby league. They have started allowing transgender, how do you say it? Is it transgender? Do I call them transgender women?
Yeah. I just says transgender. I don't know what they switched to
they
or
are,
from.
They are specifically transitioning from men to women.
Right.
And I'm telling you, with a full contact sport, it's not fair.
It's not.
It's just not fair. And you're really taking the shine, in my opinion, away from a lot of women. I have a daughter. I would absolutely hate to see her because and these fucking
and if that guy
liberal meatballs, because there's meatballs on both sides. Meatballs are not just A&M frat guys, Texas A&M frat guys.
Right.
There's these liberal meatballs who are like, well, a lot of people don't realize this, but gender's just a social construct. If you gave little boys dolls, really? You ever heard of testosterone? You ever heard of that hormone?
Right.
Because men have, well, what did we say last week? 17 times more testosterone than women?
Yep.
Yeah, that affects your physical makeup, man. You can't just go into a women's sport. And you know what? Thankfully, Anthony, I don't think there's a lot of people, even in the transgender community, I don't think there's a lot of people in the transgender community that are politicking for this.
I hope not. If it gets too bad, man, I just wish they would have their own category.
That's what I'm saying. Just have a transgender. You can come in from either side. But here's what's never going to happen. You're never going to have women transitioning into men and breaking men's records.
Right.
That's why it's incredibly not fair. I had, and you know, there's a feminine toughness that women have. You know, what women don't understand, and they read all these cosmopolitan magazines about what do men want and things like that. And I made a joke last week, kind of half true, but kind of half joking. Ladies, if you wanna get a man, here's all you got to do: give him a lot of sex.
Yeah.
Stay in really, really good shape. And by the way, it's half true, but there's obviously a lot more to it.
Correct.
Ladies, do you want to really know what is attractive to men? It is really attractive, ladies, when you're ladies.
Yes.
I had this amazing moment.
Feminine.
I have a great story, Anthony. I had this amazing moment with my daughter this week. She's a newborn, so she doesn't know how to hock loogies, and she doesn't know how to blow her nose. So her having this chest cold is a special kind of hell for her, right?
Yeah.
And you know, she's really, really miserable while she's sick. You know what I mean? And we're terrified of, like, oh my God, she's sleeping on her back. She's gonna not be able to breathe on her snot. She's lost her breath a couple times. We've had to, you know, suck the snot out of her nose so she could breathe. I mean, this has been a terror in our house. And I'll never forget this. For the rest of my life, I'll never forget this. So I'm kind of getting up and I'm kind of milling around the house. It's around 5 a.m. and I don't want to go to the gym. I just don't want to go. And my wife comes over and she's like, "Hey, can you change her? We got to get ready to go. Take her to daycare." I'm like, "All right." And I'm thinking about going and laying back in that bed, and I go to change my daughter's diaper, and she's miserable and she's sick, and I go to change her diaper, and she has this moment where she lights up and she smiles, and this is the first time in my life I get to see my daughter in her feminine energy, right? You can see her in her sweet as pie feminine energy, where you see her like, wow, this is the first time I'm getting to witness this. She's sick, she's miserable, she's dealing with this for the first time in her life, so she doesn't know what's happening. She's in a special kind of hell, but she wanted to be sweet for daddy. You know, it was just this moment of like, and I had this epiphany. This is what makes women beautiful. This is what women do better than men. Women are better than men at being women.
100.
Yeah. So it's so obvious to you and I. Why don't they just want to be women? Why do they have to keep trying to be men? Why don't they stay in their sweet as pie, feminine energy, and just because they? You know why they don't do it? Here's why. They have no idea how beautiful they are when they do it. When you hear, Anthony, give you an example. When you hear Whitney Houston sing, whatever your favorite Whitney Houston song is, mine is I Have Nothing. When you hear Whitney Houston sing and you that feminine energy you get, you have this moment, at least I do, where you're listening to Whitney Houston sing and you're like, a man can't do that. A man cannot reach that chord in music, that chord of emotion, not specifically the musical chord,
right?
But that chord of emotion, that chord, I'm at a loss of words here. The only thing I can say is that
chill
chord,
up your spine.
That chord of beauty, just real beauty.
Yeah,
and just women. I just wish women realized they're really good at that, getting up in our face and getting physical and wanting to be beaten so they can have control over the household and getting in the argument tree, not all women, and, you know, why have they gotten so lost? Because it's our fault.
It's our fault. 100.
Because we've allowed this to happen. We've allowed the feminist machine to just completely stop women from being women.
And you would transition into something I wanted to touch on about it being our fault. And where I was, being blue pill, I was a nice guy. And
are you going where I think you're going, where you wanted to prove to her that you're the good guy by not sleeping with her?
Man, exactly. I would do. Listen, I got
Dude,
a
I
whole.
did the same stuff.
I got a whole list
I want to
of
prove
shit.
that I respect her, Anthony.
This is Tim in 90 Day Fiance. I respect her too much to sleep with her on the first night, or the second night, or the third night. I listen. This is the things where if we're talking to men. And I didn't understand what being too nice of a guy was. And I wrote down a list of what being a nice guy is in the blue pill.
Oh, what? Well, we didn't have this on the agenda. What a treat.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, let's go. I didn't know you had this secret content all to yourself. I'm excited.
So, number one on the list is you have no expectations of reciprocal investment.
That's a big one, because society teaches us all this suffering that you're going through, all this trial and tribulation. No. Oh, it's not a good thing. The only reason these nice guys are doing it is because they've been told there's a reward.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They're not
It'd be
doing
worth
it altruistically.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be worth it at the end.
Because the nice guys we're going to see are not really that nice.
No.
They just think this is their best strategy for sex.
I was about to say, because the goal is the same, they're going about it the long way.
Or
the wrong way.
Or the wrong way.
It's long and wrong.
It's long and wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Like my penis. I'm sorry. I digress. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was ready to go there too, but I was like, let me get to my list. All right. So, nice guys also are too lenient, and they have, they also immediately forgive. And they immediately forgive with no consequences.
We ready to drop some knowledge on this one?
Let's go.
So, by the way, Anthony, did you author this list?
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is great so far. Because the second one might be the most important one. Guys, you have to understand that women have an innate sense that if you can't defend yourself, you can't defend your family. If you're not man enough to defend yourself from her,
yes,
then who and what can you defend her from?
You can't protect yourself from her.
Then you can't protect her.
Exactly.
Or your offspring, should you have them.
Pussy is dry than a motherfucker. And
women want to know, like, I'm not going to be able to just have my way with this motherfucker. I'm not going to be able to just have my way. Women, and I'll tell you, I have the friend I was talking about earlier that's getting her master's in nursing. She confesses the same shit. She's like, yeah, I like that he puts me in my place.
See, guys, that's the point. Hey, I'm going to my list again because it's on there. Here's another one, Wesley, that you and I talked about when we were talking about, especially when we were going over the 3% man, right? Always available. Your time is not valued because you're always available.
Oh, man, this is a great list. So always available means probably not chasing your purpose.
Nope. Anytime she calls, anytime she texts, you're right there, right behind it, responding within 5 minutes.
Do you know why I love this list?
Why's that?
Because women would disagree with
all of this.
So far.
All of this is the perfect guy.
Women are so out of touch.
This is the perfect guy to them. Ladies, in their words, but not their actions.
Ladies, here is the red pill for ladies. If y'all could just understand that you literally don't know what you want, it would open your mind to a lot.
Yes.
It would open your mind to a lot. And I'm not saying that to dog on you. Your intellectual mind is saying one thing, but your biological makeup is saying a completely different thing to you. That's why women struggle with, and this is in the book by Rollo Tomasi that I'm reading right now, Why don't I like the good guy?
Yeah, confused.
Why do I like the bad boy? Biologically, psychobiologically, you're attracted to what you're attracted to. That's a great one. That's a great one.
What
Anthony.
is my note on why
Anthony,
women?
say that one again, though.
What was sorry. Always available.
Always available. It's terrible because she knows you're not on your purpose.
Yeah. And so she, and that's why I say the time is not valued. You know,
Anthony, are you going to do this for our listeners every week? Are you going to have surprise content you can just pull out of a hat?
I didn't know we were going to have time, and I was
glad
doing
that we got to all this stuff this week.
And here's one more. I'll try to go through it quickly. Overly agreeable. See, when you're overly agreeable, also women don't like that either, because even with them, they have suspicions of what they're suspicious about your intentions when you're always agreeing with them.
This, you know what? Because we talk about men being the general and women being the colonel a lot. You're going to hear that a lot on this show. You know, a great compass, fellas, is put yourself in the general's shoes. And if the general wouldn't do that shit, you probably shouldn't do it either. Is the general always agreeable?
No.
No, the general has got his fucking what he's doing, and he's not going to be moved off of it. And the colonel is a tool for him to get his fucking goals accomplished. The colonel was vetted before they got promoted to colonel.
Yeah.
Wasn't just somebody that was just a yes man. Brought in someone that checked all the boxes. But yeah, man, it's if you find yourself where the general wouldn't do that, the general's not going to be agreeable. Fuck out of here. Generals are not agreeable.
Number 5 on the list, constantly apologizing. And everything can't be your fault. And I think constantly apologizing is a very bad habit.
I think as a man, to your woman, girlfriend, spouse, never apologize ever for anything. Ever.
Because you have no confidence. And how can she have any confidence in you? When you're always apologizing and putting yourself on a grovel, please forgive me, baby.
Does the general go, Colonel, I'm sorry, Colonel? No. The general's like, yep, that was a mistake. Time to move on.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Speaking on that, when you're talking about colonels and admirals, like nice guys are afraid to be confrontational, right? Mm-hmm. And I think with not being able to have a confrontation with your woman, to let her see you in a strong position and hold your ground, that you can't build a deep bond with her like that without that.
Well, Anthony, you don't understand. My girl is she doesn't let me act like that. Then you shouldn't have booed her up.
Right.
If you can't put her girl in her place and be the general and her be the colonel, then you didn't vet the bitch and you should have never booed her up.
I'm going to go through the last 3 and then we'll touch in. I know we're running short on time. Prioritizing others before you. Doing the most all the time. And because this caused all your relationships to be shorter than normal. And afraid of using no was on the rest of my list. And for me, all those encapsulate being too nice of a guy. And if you see yourself, if you think this is a positive thing for you as a man, I beg you to reconsider. And basically, if you have questions about that, definitely hit the comments or email us at redpillphonetap
we can
at gmail.com.
That's redpillphonetap@gmail.com. Yeah, we look forward to interacting with you guys. Anthony, look, man, we gave him some lists. You had some bonus material ready.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like we had another good show. I do think that vetting, it may have been a little ambitious to try to get to all vetting.
Yeah, vetting is hard.
Show, especially in one segment. But I don't know, guys. That's one we got to touch, Anthony.
Yeah.
Vetting is just not being done. And I'm on a mission to get these guys to their unicorn or to date many unicorns at the same time. Thanks for coming and joining us down Navigation Studios. I'm Wesley.
I'm Anthony.